Welcome to Mustard Cat Sports, folks. My name's Lucas TA. This is a special podcast because we got a second time guest. I hope that made sense to everyone. But it's presented by Dodge and brought to you also by 1320. But we have Alex here. Alex, welcome back.
Hello, happy to be back.
Wonderful. Well, we're happy to have you back, and I'm excited to talk about everything that's been going on for the past, 6 months, and specifically over the off season.
Looking forward to it. Lot to talk about.
All right. Well, I'm gonna hit you with the important questions, and then we'll talk about the unimportant stuff after. But Alex, what's your favorite color?
Favorite color? It's blue.
Blue. Do you have anything behind that,
Yes.
or is it just you just like the color blue?
Well, I mean, it's kind of hard to put a lot behind what your favorite color is. It's something about something about it. Looking up, I'm staring at a blue wall right now. There is no blue in my profile picture, but
Is it the darker blues, the lighter blues, or right in the middle blues, or all the
That's
blues?
the thing. It's pretty much all blues. And I
All
think,
blues.
you know what?
Okay.
I think that's why blue is my favorite color. I don't
Okay.
think there's a single shade of blue
Blue.
that I don't like. I can't say the same for red. I can't say the same for green, but
Okay.
blue just works.
Works. All right. Perfect. This one is a good one because I like this one. What was your, or at least one of your favorite cartoons growing up as a kid? If you have multiple, that's fine. If you can't decide on one, but give me at least one of your top ones.
I have multiple. I watched a lot of cartoons as a kid, as I'm sure most people did, but I'm gonna pick for this one, I'm gonna pick Avatar: The Last Airbender.
I do remember that.
I was the perfect age for that show coming out
Yeah.
in the late 2000s.
hmm
That show's great.
It was a little past my
Mhm.
capacity. But I do remember that because I was still watching cartoons, but I was like, I don't know if I like this, but I remember seeing that. So,
I recommend it. It holds up. If you're interested in something to watch, it's not a
yeah.
hard watch by any means, but
Do you know what it's on? Can you plug it right now? Hulu?
I
Netflix?
actually don't know what it's on right now. I can't exactly tell you where I found it the last time, but I have rewatched it. I will tell you the first time I watched the show
Uh,
was way back. Remember when Netflix still they mailed you DVDs?
oh, yeah, yeah.
I, for the first season, got the DVDs mailed, and then when we got a Wii,
Uh-huh.
we got, in order to watch Netflix on a Wii, you needed a Netflix disc to access the Netflix service through a Nintendo Wii.
Wow.
And
Okay.
that's how we watched season 2 and 3, me and my siblings.
Interesting.
The I think we didn't catch too many episodes live, which is why we did that to sort of catch up
hmm
and actually watch the whole season through. Because none of us kids were smart enough to DVR something. Um, but no, that is a core memory and a lost era. I read that Netflix stopped shipping DVDs altogether now.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know they still did it, but well.
Me neither until they told me they stopped.
All right. Well, um, you ready to get into this?
Oh yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Here we go. The big elephant in the room, there are no more playoffs. You can call the chase the playoffs as much as you want or a postseason, but it's not the playoffs. So they're gone. They're out of here. It's not a full season is and that's what I still want, but I'll take the baby steps towards getting rid of the playoffs, getting rid of winning in, getting rid of all the gimmicky baloney bullcrap. And the one thing that I truly like is the one thing that every person from 2003, excuse me, 2002 has been screaming to NASCAR. Just give the winner more points. And it took
Yeah.
over 20 years for that to truly happen. They increased a
Yeah.
little bit back in the early chase days, but not what the fans wanted. We wanted to just give them a bigger chunk. So overall, I'm happy with it. In the very beginning I was disappointed because it wasn't a full season points. I wanted a full season points. I still want it to go to full season points. I understand that it can't right now because I personally think NASCAR was too afraid to go that far. Also, I think the TV executives did not want to go that far because they think that it will be a snooze fest. I think they'll be completely wrong, and I'm hoping once the new TV deal comes about, maybe that's when we could potentially get a full season points. But overall, I'm happy with what we have, and the only thing I'm worried about is eventually the flaws and the cracks will show in this because it did in the old system, and I think someone will figure it out. But it will still bring a more deserving champion than the playoffs. Now that I've said that, what is your entire thought on all this?
I share many of the same thoughts as you. I was of course championing for a full season format. I like this new chase. I don't love it, but I like it. I think it's important to recognize that this is the first big step, quote unquote, backwards
Mm-hmm.
NASCAR has ever taken. This is huge
Mm-hmm.
that they have stopped their playoff that they had kept around since 2014, and they've gone back to, well, not all the way back, they've gone back to something more normal,
Mm-hmm.
more legitimate, and something that'll be more engaging to follow as a hardcore fan of the sport. And I think that's something that a year ago today might not have even been possible. I know people like
Mm-hmm.
Mark Martin did a lot of work behind the scenes, gathering momentum to get the NASCAR people and the TV people, whoever was primarily in charge of determining these formats, to back down from the craziness that we had.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, even in the last season of the playoffs, we saw the playoffs do what the playoffs do. When I spoke to you last, I believe it was the Las Vegas weekend in the
Yeah.
fall, give or take then.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, we had Corey Heim win the truck championship,
Mm-hmm.
dominating fashion, deserved that championship, the most
Almost
wins
almost
ever.
lost it though. And that could have
But
been
he
a
almost
travesty.
lost it. And it took him going seven wide on the apron of Phoenix,
Yep.
ridiculous track,
Uh,
to actually win the championship. And the very next day, Connor Zilic could not.
mhm. No.
Another incredible season, one of the greatest seasons by a rookie driver in any series.
Mm-hmm.
And because he had a great day but didn't win, he lost the title.
Yep.
That hurt then, it still hurts now. And if I
Mm-hmm.
can do a very quick side note, I think that was the day I realized that no, I think Connor Zilic really is my new driver now. I'd been bouncing
Oh,
around sort of ever
okay.
since Jeff retired, but I'm on the Zilic train this
Yeah.
year. Feel free to,
Hey,
pin this and quote this and come back on me if this, this doesn't stay out. But I'm saying right now, I'm pulling
uh,
for Zilic.
side note, um, did you watch or listen to the DBC, the last one with Connor
I
on it?
did listen to DBC with Connor.
Yeah.
I don't know if I was able to hear the last 10 minutes of it, but I did hear that show. I enjoyed him on it.
I can't remember where that part was. Maybe it was at the end, but did you hear him where he talked about how he kind of bashed Fox into saying, "Why are you using the throttle trace in Xfinity and truck because it's fake?"
No, I did not hear that part. Let's go.
It must be at the end and you missed that. So you have
It
to go
must
back
be at
and
the end, and
listen
I
to that
must have missed it.
because
Ah,
oh my God, when he like I, I'm still a Kyle Larson fan, but I very gained a lot of respect for Connor
well,
right then
yeah,
and there when I
because
heard that.
Xfinity and trucks still don't have SMT, or if
No,
they do,
uh,
it's nowhere near as detailed as Cup
no.
has been for the past 8 to 10
He
years.
he said that he told Fox. So that's why I forgot to watch when I was watching truck qualifying the other day
Mhm.
because he said, Fox, stop showing the throttle trace in Xfinity or O'Reilly series and the trucks because it's fake. They don't have the actual SMT data for it. And what that's going off of is basically like GPS. So that's how they're getting the throttle trace, how they're thinking it's happening. So he's like, we don't want to see that. Stop, bullshitting the fans.
Fox Fox is addicted to finding as much bullshit as possible and putting it on TV for the fans.
Yeah.
I thought the annoyance started and stopped the ghost car, which is
Yeah.
never 100% accurate. It's always delayed. And
Hmm.
then when you get something really close, the ghost car will show them ahead, and then you'll see the scoring update and they were actually slower. And
Yeah.
I'm like, but they don't. Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
insane.
So yeah, you'll definitely
Oh
have
my
to go
God.
back and check that out because that's when I heard that I was like, no
I'm gonna
fucking
have to go
way.
back and check that. I'm gonna
And
have to go back now and look at
yeah,
some old Fox qualifying.
yeah,
Oh,
because
but oh yeah,
yeah, I gained a lot more respect for Connor. He probably got yelled at a little bit after that because they probably weren't happy about that. But it's like I appreciate that when drivers and people in the media and people are transparent and tell it like it is because as fans we just want the real thing. We want to see.
benefit of the kid
Yeah.
being younger than the film Cars is that he
Yeah.
probably doesn't even know he shouldn't be saying that.
Yeah.
So you know what? You go get him, dude.
Yeah. So,
To yeah,
yeah. So, yeah. Not to cut
to
you off there,
wrap
but
up to wrap up my thoughts on the 2025 championship weekend, we had the clear rightful champion win in trucks.
yep.
Jesse Love had a great season last year, but not a championship season.
Hmm.
And then in the Cup Series that weekend at Phoenix, we saw something I thought was very interesting.
Hmm.
We saw a lot of the NASCAR fandom sort of put their playoff feelings aside and rally behind Denny Hamlin.
Yeah.
I believe if you would have looked at a full season format, not using the Winston points, but using
The regular.
last year's point system, 40 points for a win, 10-point stages,
Hmm.
I don't believe Hamlin would have won the title. He would have been kind of close, but I don't think he would have won it under a full season.
Hmm.
But you saw people basically buy into the playoff shelf. Like, okay, you
Yeah.
know what? It's the last week, and all you have to do is kick
Win.
ass in the
Yeah.
final race, and you're good.
Hmm.
And people watched Denny Hamlin do
Kick ass.
exactly what they told him to. He
Hmm.
kicked ass in the final race up until what, 10 laps to go, less than that. The final caution comes down.
Yeah. Hmm.
He takes four tires. Larson either takes two or doesn't pit.
Hmm.
And he's leading the championship all day, and because of a late caution, poof, it's gone.
Yeah. And
Just gone.
Larson was never ahead of him through that
He was never
whole,
ahead of him all day.
all,
I don't even
even,
know if Larson led a lap because he
no,
didn't win the race. He
no.
finished like fourth.
Yeah. Third or fourth, somewhere around there because Blaney actually won. But Larson was never ahead of Denny all the way through the entire length of the race, but then there was overtime that it came to.
Mm,
So it was overtime. That was the only time that Larson was ahead of him, and it was just because of a pit call. So I agree
yeah.
100%. Like I even bought into the playoff because I was like, Denny Hamlin has rocked this whole like race, and he should have been champion, but
He
because of a
was a
play
good
call,
story,
yeah.
and the battle was close enough that I can sort of accept it if the difference in full points versus a playoff reset
Mhm.
is less than a race and a half.
Yeah.
So if like you have like a 60-point margin or so and you end up losing, it's like that's kind of close enough to me to be borderline, but
Hmm.
it's just I think that was what really showed all the executives of even when you're setting up the story that you want to set up of, oh, look, it's a last second change in the championship pass. It
Yeah.
is not satisfying for anybody.
No. It
Nobody liked that. The
yeah.
playoff haters didn't like that. And the playoffs likers
Yeah.
didn't like that. They managed to create a scenario that pleased actually nobody.
Yeah.
Now, I
I
think
agree.
this is something they've essentially done before, but they pleased nobody and everybody realized that it wasn't what they wanted to see.
Hmm.
I think it opened a lot of fans' eyes last year to the problems of the playoffs.
Agree.
Um, and in the aftermath of that, playoffs they're gone. They're back to the
Hmm.
chase. I agree with what you said. I like that they're giving more points to the winner.
Hmm.
I don't love that stages have stuck around, but that's something that
Yeah.
TV especially doesn't want to get rid of because it
No.
gives them additional windows to sell more commercials. Not to run the same amount of commercials under yellow, but
Yeah.
to just run more commercials because the race will take longer.
Yeah. Well,
I like the 55 for the winner. 16 drivers is too many, but if we
yeah.
think back, the entire reason that the chase kept getting expanded in terms of number of qualifiers was due to mid-pack teams and lower pack teams getting annoyed that they weren't getting as much coverage if they
Hmm.
missed the chase.
Yeah.
And I don't think the chase field is, if the chase field ever gets shrunk again, it'll be
Hmm.
because the chase goes away.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of people surprised and disappointed at 16. I can say I was disappointed at 16, but I can't say I was surprised to see the qualifiers stay at 16.
Yeah. The the one nice thing is how they seeded it is I'm not saying it's impossible for like anyone behind 10th place to make a run, but you're basically gonna have to like
It's a big hurdle
yeah,
because
you're gonna have to like
first
lights
entering
out.
first, you're over a whole race
Hmm.
ahead.
Yeah.
The most someone can ever gain on you in a race is about what, 75 points. Say you win both
Hmm.
stages, win the race. That's 75 points, or fast lap, I guess 76 points. I keep forgetting the fast lap
Yeah.
exists. I hope they put a little more focus on that because it really does feel like an afterthought and kind of a toss up when you have twice as many
Yeah.
cars as Formula One. But not neither here nor there. I will say regarding the chase seating,
Hmm.
I don't mind it, but if there is one thing that I think the NASCAR playoffs in the stage era, I think did better than any prior iteration of the chase was seeding entering the chase slash playoffs.
Hmm.
I think having, while I know some executive people said it was confusing, and I won't disagree that it was a bit tricky to follow,
Hmm.
I think seeding the chase or playoffs or postseason or what have you based on a combination of points finish and how many wins you got and how many stage wins you got,
Yeah.
I think that was pretty good.
Hmm.
Like last year, the first place driver got 15 points for
Yeah.
seeding purposes, 15 playoff points,
Hmm.
plus five for any wins, and plus one for any stage win. I think the current bracket they have, even if they just added 1 to 5 points for winning races to help the seeding, I
Yeah.
would have preferred that because I do sympathize with the wins should mean more
More.
people
Hmm.
in terms of being something that can help your seeding purposes once you get to the chase. But it is a very minor quibble,
Hmm.
just something I was a little surprised to see go away.
Yeah. I guess the one gripe, and I can see it being a loophole that I think a lot of these teams will figure out real quick because Jimmy and Chad figured out a bunch of stuff in the old chase is, and this could be a detriment or a help, but in theory, someone could be going into, the chase with, let's just say 100 points up, which is a ton. But
Mm-hmm.
let's just say someone hypothetically has roughly that much over second place. Now they're going to get knocked down to less points. So they're going to basically figure out where the sweet spot is, and then if they have that big of lead, be able to be like, well, and I'm not saying not try, but they'll be able to try different things and figure out, use this race as a test or whatever. Kind of like what they did in the playoffs. Once you won a race, like
Yeah.
your season didn't matter. Like, yeah, you want to rack up more wins, but if you crap out a race, it's not the end of the world. So I,
No, I
yeah,
agree with you.
and it could go the other
Um,
way too. Someone could be like, it could be a really amazingly tight race for first, second, and third, and they could all be separated by less than 10 points. And then we go into the chase and now the first place person gets this big jump on
That
all.
I think
So,
that would be really,
oh yeah,
really funny. I don't
yeah,
think that's ever happened, but I think that would be
but
hysterical if it
but
did
it
happen.
it
But
could because what was it? Larson and Reddick were separated by 1 point. Obviously, that was because Larson missed one full race.
oh yeah, no, you
But
you're right. Yeah,
but
last year.
uh, but like, it, and then Byron and Larson. So like, it very well could happen this year where it's a
It
very
could
very
happen.
very tight race, and then all of a sudden it's like whoop, like oh shit.
I definitely prefer tight races getting expanded
Yeah.
because, well, the guy in second now has a bigger hurdle. I'm
Oh
not
yeah.
opposed to that
No.
as hard, but it's funny that the thing really I'll say with the chase is we know what the flaws of the chase are. The same flaws the chase had 10 years,
Yeah.
15 years ago. I think the seating for this chase is still better than the seating for any prior
Yeah.
chase, either the '04 to '06, '07 to 2010, or 2011 to 2013, in
Yeah.
terms of in terms of points standings after the reset, because the gaps are a lot bigger than they were.
Hmm.
Especially comparing to the 2011 to 2013 era, where they were at the time using 1 point per position.
Yeah.
Although we have stages now, we've changed how much a win gives you.
Hmm.
I think this is a better seating format than that. Regarding what Jimmy and Chad did of sort of banking on entering the chase in the top 4 or 5 in the points,
Hmm.
using the fact that they'll essentially get between 50 to 150 free points to the leader by
Hmm.
being in about fourth or fifth, using that to spend the summer months experimenting.
Hmm.
I think it's possible we see that today, but
Yeah.
I also think it's a little less likely
Hmm.
because of the double edged sword of parity that the next gen has today versus the car of tomorrow. I,
Yeah.
of course, love the car of tomorrow, but because there's less that you can do to set yourself apart that far apart from the field today than there would have been in 2009, I think that makes the possibility of a Jimmy and Chad type season where they are good but never quite the best in the regular season and then go lights out in the chase. I think that's less likely.
Yeah.
But even though that is still likely, I take this over the playoffs 8 days a week. And until or unless we get that sort of phenomenon happening again repeatedly, I am happy to focus on the fact that while this is not my preference, it is so much better than the recent alternative
Hmm.
that I will support this. And I am really looking forward to actually having a reason to follow the point standings every week again.
Yeah. Being consistent and getting top tens and top fives actually means something again. So it's not just
Mm-hmm.
a stat for,
10 races is better than one.
agreed.
36 is the best, but
Yeah.
10 races is better than one.
Yeah, I'm hoping for a full season eventually, but I'll take this over
It's the first
playoffs.
step. That's all
It
I've
is.
wanted to see
Yeah.
from NASCAR for years now. It's
Hmm.
just show me that you're taking the first step. Like
Hmm.
with the next gen and like horsepower and stuff.
Yeah.
Horsepower extending even before the next gen, but just
Hey,
show me that you're willing to take the first step. It'd be too much money to go to 1,000 horsepower immediately. Okay, I know that. Give me like 50 horsepower bumps every year. These are some of the smartest engineers in the country, especially now that you guys, that's another off-season chart talking point, the charters. You guys, you can do it. I am perfectly fine to give you guys like a few years to get back to that level. Just show me that you are taking steps to improve. And
yeah.
that's what NASCAR has showed me with the decision to re-implement a chase for 2026. And that's why I'm happy.
Um, what I was gonna say off the horsepower thing real quick. I didn't have this on our thing, but I was listening to David Land,
Hmm.
his video on Honda coming back officially into like re-signing for Oklahoma.
Yes, their engine deal with IndyCar.
Yeah, yeah. I 100% believe this now is the reason why NASCAR went up in a little bit of horsepower is because Honda officially is not coming into the sport, at least in the next, 5 to probably 8 years, realistically. Um, it's not impossible for them to jump back in this train, but if you listen to David Land's video about that, he talks about how roughly 2 years ago, he had all this information, but he couldn't really talk about it specifically, that Honda was basically threatening or thinking about leaving the sport because they were tired of, you know, going, doing whatever IndyCar was doing. And they were talking with NASCAR. NASCAR, was talking with them, and they didn't really want to make a, V8. And NASCAR was like, well, we can try and figure out a way for you guys to use a V6, turbocharged engine potentially. And there was all that weird shit going on with IndyCar that Honda didn't like, with Penske running it and all the scandals with Penske, with the push to pass and all that stuff was
Hmm.
going on, and they didn't like all that was going on. And the trial for NASCAR actually did a lot of good than bad. I truly think it really screwed over NASCAR overall, but not really because they will recover it. It might have painted a lot of their executives in a bad light, but Honda saw what was on the other side and saw, oh wow, the grass really isn't that much greener because NASCAR treats their owners like pieces of shit anyways. So they
Yeah.
they re-signed with IndyCar, and NASCAR was only keeping the horsepower down because of Honda, because of
Hmm.
that reason, because they wanted to get them into the sport. I don't know where Dodge falls into this. I don't know if Dodge was always hiding in the back corner, being like,
I'm
"Well,
sure
we'll,
Dodge
we'll
is fine with
oh
horsepower.
yeah, oh they're fine with it." But I'm wondering if they were always hiding in the back corner, like, "Hey, we'll jump back in whenever we feel financially available to do it."
Yeah,
But
Dodge's problem was Dodge didn't have any money,
I know
and they still kind of don't. But
they don't. But
NASCAR was always like, Dodge was kind of always there, sort of threatening to come back,
yeah,
and NASCAR was like, you can threaten, and we'll go after Honda.
yeah,
I
yeah.
No,
So
I think that makes sense, and I hope to see more horsepower. And
yeah,
yeah, they were telling us for years it's just because we want to get more manufacturers in the
yeah,
sport.
yeah,
It's like
and
Dodge is like right there.
it was Honda. So
It was
like
Honda. Yep.
that, I truly hope that that means we're going to get more horsepower. I don't know if the next gen can handle more power, but um,
I'm sure it can. I think really the biggest thing with the next gen and horsepower, it's not can it handle it, it's how much do you need to actually make that big of a difference, and how much other components do you need to
yeah,
change to make sure that we're not having crazy
failures.
mid corner speeds.
Gotcha.
Because as it stands, the mid corner speeds are really high, and that's really where most of the danger comes from when you're talking about a high horsepower car.
Mm.
It's the minimum speeds that you're achieving on the lap, not the maximum speeds. Um, Regarding Honda, I am elated that they are not joining NASCAR because
Hey, it's not
I,
saying they
I
can't still,
it's
but
no, no,
they're
no.
probably
Not, of
not.
course, not saying they can't, but I'm elated that at least for right now, this is a major indication that it won't be anytime soon
Mm,
because they're spending a lot of money on IndyCar,
correct.
enough money to the point where they probably are not in a position to do both.
Yeah. Well, they have a new engine coming out, I think, in
Yes,
27
IndyCar
or
has a new
28.
engine coming out.
Yeah.
I
So,
I also I don't want Honda in NASCAR
mhm,
based on my current understanding of their practices, their goals, and their interactions with the motorsport they're involved in with IndyCar,
mhm,
is it really, I get the sense as mostly an outsider looking into IndyCar. I don't think the grass is greener, but what I'm seeing is Honda playing hardball with the sanctioning body for years now. It seems like they've gotten what they wanted, but
mhm,
Honda was the laboring orb behind hodgepodging a hybrid system into IndyCar's old chassis, which is itself a IndyCar management problem. The grass is not greener over there. They have
Yeah.
issues.
Oh yeah.
But seeing them kind of wrangle the sanctioning body and really leverage their negotiations with NASCAR as a threat to get what they want, I don't love that. Obviously, that is the nature of these things. If you are a major financial partner, you are supplying motors, you are supplying teams with all this R&D information. Obviously, manufacturers will always have a large amount of sway in these things.
Hmm.
But considering they were and possibly are trying to use that as their in for NASCAR to make NASCAR say, no, 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 we're only coming over if you find a way to let us run this
Hmm.
turbo V6.
Hmm.
I know the Busch series ran V6s in
Hmm.
the 80s and the early 90s. They were naturally aspirated. I know they ran V6s. It's fine. However, they went to V8s and they went to V8s 30 years ago. And the idea of NASCAR stock car racing as a type of car, stock car racing as the average person's idea of what a stock car is. NASCAR was popular enough that most of the public still has a vague idea of what they think a NASCAR looks like.
Hmm.
And whether you like it or not, part of that definition will always include having a V8, especially at the cup level, which is where Honda wanted to go, which is where, guess what? There haven't been any six-cylinder motors in any large capacity since the 50s. They
Hmm.
were trying to make some V6s compete in Cup in the mid 80s. I saw a good video. I believe it was probably by NASCAR Man. It
Hmm.
may not have, and I don't remember the exact title off the top of my head. But in going over either the 88 or 89 season, there was a piece on one of the teams. It might have been Junior Johnson, it might have been Dygard, trying to get approval to run a V6 in a cup race. And it either fell through or the team had issues that race. And that was the only time they tried it.
Yeah.
I don't, especially again, circling back to Dodge is actively re entering your sport and is actively pursuing a cup entry
Hmm.
by at the latest 2028.
Hmm.
I think there is no possible way the amount of money Honda is giving you to join the sport on the condition that you change more of the formula of what differentiates you from other motorsports and what makes you appealing to the American motorsports fan. I don't think there's any way that the math works out that the benefits outweigh the costs
Hmm.
because turbo V6s are going to lose a lot of fans. I realized that, oh, IMSA is growing and IMSA has these all different types of motors. This isn't IMSA. I know
Hmm.
NASCAR owns IMSA, but if you want to sell NASCAR as a different thing from IMSA, the solution is not to make NASCAR more like IMSA. Just like NASCAR trying to be more like football or basketball with the playoffs. If
Hmm.
you want somebody to watch your thing instead of their thing, you're tempted to make your thing more like their thing, but you hit the uncanny valley of people recognizing, no, 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 you're trying to be like the thing I already like, but you're doing it badly. So that makes me think even less of you than I thought before you were trying to imitate the thing that I like.
Yeah.
And we've seen the numbers not pay off of bringing in young fans at a sufficient rate to replace the old fans that get pissed
Uh-huh.
off for any number of reasons. Just the math doesn't math. If Honda wants to do what Toyota did 20 years ago, Toyota, who still got shit
Yeah.
when they came in 20 years ago,
That's
if
because
Honda wants to
Toyota.
do it, they need to do it Toyota's way. Imagine if the backlash was bad enough. Imagine if Toyota came in 2007 in the Cup
Oh,
Series
it's
with a
a yeah.
V6.
Oh yeah.
That would have been NASCAR had a precipitous drop in the late 2000s anyway.
Yeah.
It would have been even faster.
Oh yeah.
And that's, I know, that was almost 20 years ago. I know, but the audience that likes what NASCAR at its best sells, that audience still exists. And I think that audience will continue to exist for a lot longer of a time
Hmm.
than people think, that, oh, you're all 70-year-old boomers are going to die off. You have young fans. I am one of them. I'm 23.
Yeah,
I found your stuff, but
yeah,
I didn't even like the new things you're doing to try and get people my age.
yeah, yeah.
Uh
Well,
little long-winded there, but to put
well,
a pin on it, I am relieved that it seems Honda's entry into NASCAR is not anything happening in the near future. And I hope
yeah,
that that means we can see more unrestricting of the
yeah.
motors.
No, I 100% agree on that. Um, yeah, Honda is a very divisive company, and
They make good cars.
oh,
I
they
just don't
do.
want them putting V6s in my Nash cars.
They're. I'm just saying in racing, they're very divisive. It doesn't matter if it's your average day Joe just drag racing on the streets. You either love Hondas or you hate them. There's really not too many people that are like,
Yeah.
yeah, they're okay. Like obviously they make good cars, but that's not saying, oh, I want that car. So, you know, so yeah, it's been like that forever. Like even when I was a very young kid, driving around the streets and people saying, "Oh, this got VTEC and all that." And then you had the other side, someone in a Mustang being like, "I got a V8," and there's been a battle like that. So like, I agree. I'm super happy that they're not coming into the sport anytime soon. Part of me kind of wishes they kind of were, on the fact that like you would have this huge rivalry because people would absolutely like people don't like Toyota still, but people would
People would hate
absolutely
Honda.
hate Honda. So it would be
If anything, the best case scenario would be that the hate for Honda is so strong that instead of just turning it off, they root against Honda even harder and
yes,
they make sure to watch every race to see all the Hondas
correct.
crash.
It'd
I
be
think
like
that's a risky move,
it
but I
is.
think that's
It is.
possible. That would be their
It
best
is.
case scenario. And now I'm remembering all the old it's got VTEC memes
Yeah.
from
Oh yeah. Yeah.
decade and a half ago.
Yeah. So like it definitely
Uh,
I could see the positive, but don't want a V6 in
I'm
NASCAR.
I'm fine to have that battle elsewhere,
Yeah.
including places where it already exists, like IndyCar and
Yeah.
IMSA,
Yeah.
just not here.
Yeah.
Just not that's all I'm asking.
Well, we'll jump into some more positive notes. Uh, the whole Daytona week was arguably, I think, one of the most successful Daytonas that I have seen in a long time. And mind you this, I stopped watching the Daytona 500 probably from 2010 to about 2018-ish. I watched the 18 one, so 17.
Mhm.
I didn't watch any of those live. I've gone back and seen some of those, but I never watched any of them live. And I would say this as a whole, not just the race itself, but the whole week has been one of the best weeks since not early 2000s, but I would say probably like 2008 or 2008, 7, 6, around there when obviously you had those huge numbers. Obviously they didn't get as much numbers as that, but the just excitement around it, the amount of people, the the drivers, their campaign of the hell yeah, which I didn't even know that was a thing until now. It's like it was an overall success, I feel like. Obviously, we'll get into the nitty gritty hereafter about the racing itself, but overall, it was a success. Hope that they bring the Clash back because, and like Dale Jr. and many other people have said, it does not need to be a 50 lap race. It can legitimately be like a 25 lap race and let it happen. Like, and only have pole winners. That's it. Have it be a fun teaser to the start of the whole speed weeks or speed week. It's not weeks anymore. I appreciate the practice that the Cup Series got. I'm super pissed off that they didn't give that to the lower series, the series that actually need it.
Oh, don't worry. I've got
I
some
know.
rants planned on
Yeah,
that a little later.
I know.
We'll get to
With
that.
Cleetus and a bunch of other people because that's the underlying issue. But we'll get into that. But I appreciate NASCAR giving the Cup Series 3 practices, which was way overdone for that car because that car is the issue with the super
I'm just
speedway
glad we
racing.
got I'm glad we got pre-qualifying practice again. Which we don't have this week, but to be fair, it got canceled anyway. I
Oh
was
yeah,
gonna
it
put
did.
that on in the background, but I
Yeah,
looked at my phone and I saw Bob Cocker said Atlanta qualifying.
yeah, I saw that
New
too.
Atlanta qualifying was
Yeah.
canceled. I'm just like, no.
So, but overall, like that's what the whole weekend, every weekend needs at minimum. I agree with you. We need the pre-practice before qualifying because I want to see people go out there and maybe someone wants to set up their car for trying to get as high up on the qualifying grid as possible, or maybe someone's like, I'm gonna set up my car more for the race and I'm gonna focus more on that, and then qualifying, and then give them another practice, and then be done. And then maybe the Cup Series, you only give them 45 minutes to an hour on each of those for the Cup Series. Then, if you wanted, I would say for the lower series, you give them like 2 hours each because they need it. But that's irrelevant. We're still talking about the good right now. That Daytona week was exciting. I loved everything about it. I loved most of all the commercials. I loved all the coverage was very, very well done. There was a few hiccups here and there, but overall, like obviously Fox usually does well on their first race, so I'm kind of excited to see what they do as they progress because they normally go like that. But they did a wonderful job for the first time in what 25 years, uh, and I don't know if that's because Dale Earnhardt's death and the whole tribute to that, but man, they did a good job. I can't say enough of that. And the cherry on the top is the storm coming in and that race starting at 1 o'clock Eastern. They need to get
uh,
back to
2:15, but you
two.
know.
Oh, two. Okay. Okay, one
They
o'clock my time. It was 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock your time.
But still, they need to get
Earlier
back
the better.
to a either 1 o'clock my time or a 12 o'clock my time. So that's central for everyone. And because one, it keeps that whole window open. If you're going to have rain, you can extend it a lot longer if you need to, but you can also get the
Exactly.
race in. And you have time after the race to just do something with your life. Like, I love NASCAR, I like watching it, but I don't like just watching the race and then after the race, either eating dinner during the race when it's going on or eating dinner right after. And then you're kind of, rest of your day is done. It's Sunday night, it's like over. Like,
Yeah,
I
especially if you're a fan at the
yeah.
track, it's
Oh,
nice
that
to be
too.
able to,
Uh-huh.
okay, the race ends at 5:30. All right, now we
Yeah.
can mill about, go across the street, get some dinner, and then no rush to get back to our hotel or
hmm
whatnot.
But
Um,
yeah, what are your thoughts on it? I absolutely was it was 180 degrees from last year, the year before. Basically, since I can remember, like I said, I didn't officially watch any of the stuff before 2018, so it kicked all those asses, I think. So
I I broadly share your optimism for the weekend. I think it was much improved. I would pump the brakes on calling it quite as improved. I think having watched all from I basically started after you stopped in
yeah.
2011 watching the 500. I think the 500s got slowly worse and then
Mhm.
quickly worse once we got to about 2018. Even when the packages were good, there was just something about the week.
Yeah.
I would label this 2026 500 speed weekend as the best speed weekend of the speed weekend era, which started in 2021 due to COVID and
Mhm.
continued afterwards because, well, why would we ever go back?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I do think this is the best speed weekend of the
Mhm.
speed weekend era, the best 500 since 2020.
Hmm.
And combining the positive momentum of the weekend, I'll repeat what I said earlier about the playoffs. I don't think it was as strongly of an improvement, but it is incredibly refreshing
Hmm.
to see steps being taken towards improvement, especially I think on the broadcast side. And I was worried going in because Fox did some things I didn't love during the clash and during the duels.
Hmm.
Not to mention what you've brought up that I learned about the stupid throttle traces and Xfinity and truck qualifying.
Yeah.
But I was worried going in, but I thought Fox's coverage of the Daytona 500 was great. And that's
Mhm.
something I haven't been able to say since at least 2020.
Cartoons are gone.
Cartoons are gone. Thank be the Lord that cartoons are gone because they just looked so bad. That is, if all you take away is that it seems like Fox is treating the sport a bit more seriously,
Hmm.
that is a big positive. And that's what I came away with
Hmm.
over this past weekend is Fox is treating the sport more seriously, at least at the cup level. I
Yeah.
have my issues with the truck broadcasters, of course, but it seems like they are twisting their arm to get Eric Brennan in that booth. And
Hey,
we'll have
can
to
I
see how that goes.
say one?
I do want to share talk a little bit about the clash, but I also, before I forget, I want to pay my respects, rest in peace, Greg Biffle and everybody who died in that plane crash in December.
Yeah.
In an otherwise positive offseason, that was an incredible tragedy. And
It was.
likewise, the passing of Denny Hamlin's father, Dennis, in that
Hmm.
house fire. There were a lot of wins over the offseason, but there were a
I
lot of
agree.
personal losses. And I think I still kind of can't believe Greg Biffle's gone. And we can talk
Yeah.
about that a little bit more when we get into the ARCA and truck races
Hmm.
and what his relationship he was building with Cleetus McFarland over the past year and a half. But
Yeah.
just want to give a quick rest in peace to him, his family, everyone on that plane crash, and to Dennis Hamlin.
Yeah. No, they'll be sadly missed. So,
Yeah.
but yeah.
What I wanted to mention about the Clash, I actually the Clash was a mess at Bowman Gray, but I enjoyed it. I
Yeah.
actually genuinely enjoy how the next gen races at Bowman Gray. I know it's stupid, it's ridiculous, it's bumper cars, but that's Bowman Gray. Is it
Mhm. Oh
objectively
yeah.
good? No. Do I care? No. It's fun.
I
However,
I think they
bump
should
yeah,
just go there any like once a year. If it's the beginning of the year, middle of the year, somewhere random. Obviously not a points race, just randomly go there.
yeah.
Like it's
Uh,
a fun, exciting, kind of
it
a
is a
stupid race. Like it's
it's a
fun.
fun time for a stupid race.
Yeah.
And you know what? Sometimes that's okay.
Hmm.
And I think you were mentioning earlier about the Clash, Dale Jr. saying Clash at Daytona 2025 laps, pole winners.
Yeah.
I 100% back that. The Clash needs to be the week before the 500,
Hmm.
no more than 25 laps, and
Hmm.
only the poor pole winners. I think a big thing that's hurt the popularity of the Bud Shootout back in the day was in 2009 when they expanded the field to like the top 8 in points for each
Yeah.
manufacturer, or like all the chase qualifiers. I was like, what? This is pretty much just a race now. What's the
Mm.
point? I
Well,
also think that all if okay, you want the Clash back at Daytona, what happens to Bowman Gray? I think the answer for Bowman Gray is the All Star race.
yeah.
I liked the All Star race in Charlotte. I think the All Star race would do well in Charlotte.
Hmm.
But if we only have two exhibition races a year, I'm open to that changing. But I feel like unless we're also cutting points races, I don't think that's changing anytime soon.
No.
Um, well, I say that, but I mean, I read a couple articles this week about the NFL schedule expansion, and maybe we will be cutting points races sooner rather than later. But I think, especially when you look at it from a logistics standpoint, Bowman Gray would function much better as an all star weekend for a number of
Hmm.
reasons. First, and probably the most important, is the weather. They mentioned last year in 2025 that they basically rolled the dice. The weather was either going to be great or terrible in that era. In that part of the country, that time of year, mid
Hmm.
early February, the weather's either going to suck or it's going to be pretty mild.
Hmm.
Last year it was pretty mild, and this year it sucked. And getting bumped
Yeah.
to FS2 with like 40 laps to go,
Yeah.
not a good look. Beyond the fact it was pushed 3 days to a Wednesday to begin with. However, if you make Bowman Gray the All Star race, you can kill a lot of birds with one stone. That is still a home track to the Charlotte area. When I went
Yeah.
down to Charlotte in 2022 with my dad, we went down for the 600. A
Hmm.
couple of nights before, we drove up to Bowman Gray for a modified race. Had a great
Hmm.
time, and it was only about an hour or so from our hotel.
Hmm.
Bowman Gray is closer to pretty close, equidistant from Charlotte proper as North Wilkesboro is,
Okay.
and a bit closer than a track like, say, Martinsville.
Hmm.
If you have Bowman Gray as the All Star race, you can put the All Star race easily still where it belongs before the Coke 600 weekend.
Yeah.
And you can reintegrate things that we used to see in the late 2000s, such as the pit stop challenge. You might even be able to host that at Bowman Gray
Yeah.
if it's the weather's nice, or you can do what they did in the 2000s and host it at one of the arenas down in Charlotte. You'll have the good weather. It'll be a non-points event, but you can still build excitement for the 600 because you know it's in the area, you know it's going to be the same drivers, and you could essentially keep a format that I've enjoyed for the both clashes of having the couple heat races and LCQ and then a main, treating it like an extended short track weekend. And I think that would work excellently for the All Star race.
Hmm.
I know a lot of executives would still want to do some variety of a rotation. That's something they wanted to do with the LA Clash, and it didn't really happen. I've heard rumblings, not as much recently, that they want to host a LA Clash style race at the Franklin Field in Philadelphia.
Hmm. Okay.
I wouldn't really be interested in seeing that, but maybe. I just think that that would be better pursued elsewhere. And
Hmm.
I think the two exhibition races that we have would work very well in places that already sort of exist.
Hmm.
Clash at Daytona and All Star race at Bowman Gray.
Yeah.
One quick last comment about All Star races. While I will be there, I am very worried for Dover's future, considering at the moment the All Star race is not exactly a desirable event.
Hmm.
And in just the past 5 or 6 years, Dover has gone from 2 points race weekends a year
Yeah.
to zero.
Oh yeah. Zero.
And
Okay.
I worry for my home track that the All Star race is a might be a canary in the coal mine of Speedway Motorsports looking to race elsewhere in 2027.
Yeah. I would hope that Dover can get at least. I think it deserves one solid race. Um.
It,
And
it deserves at least 1 points race. What it
yeah.
really deserves is a better race car at the cup level. But
True. Very
um,
true.
let's go back to Daytona though. I do think it was a positive weekend. I have issues with the 500 itself, but I think it
Yeah.
was still the best 500 of the next gen era. And overall, the weekend was a positive, and it makes me think of just how much bigger we can start to make this event again if we do what you said. We bring the Clash back to Daytona, and if we add even more practices for the lower series and really get back to a proper NASCAR speed weeks with an S at the end,
I agree.
and give us 8 to 10 days down in Florida.
Before we get into the absolute terrible package that is run at Daytona and Talladega, but I would actually love to see this because I think this would give a little more spark to the Clash. Obviously, just do pole winners, but
Mhm.
the only other way that you can be given the whatever you want to call it, the date to qual
Invitation.
invitation, um, would be is if you won the race last year and you didn't win a pole. So then that would allow the person that won that race last year to be back in if they didn't win a pole, but that would be the only way. It's the last person to win the prior year. That's it. If you won 2 years ago, doesn't fucking matter. You have to be the most recent person to win. And that would
I like that.
I would
I
hope to
like
give
that
I
rule.
would hope it would give like people be like, "Oh, I got to win this because if I don't win a pole, I can get back in this. I can be the defending." So we could have someone like how Dale Earnhardt was so dominant in the duels. He'd won it like 10 years in a row in the 90s. You could potentially have that some person be like, "This guy has won every single or like 5 years in a row," even though it probably wouldn't happen, but you could have that opportunity.
Mhm.
So, but first we got to get the Clash back at the
First, we got to
thing
get it back at
before we
Daytona.
can do anything.
I like the rule of only last year's winner.
Yeah, just
One
that.
rule I'd be curious to add, if it weren't for the fact that parts for this car are still difficult to come by, is they did it. There was a brief period in the 90s, I think it wasn't more than a couple of years, where they would award the last spot in the field to, I can't remember if it was the Busch Series champion or the
Hmm.
Busch Series driver who won the most poles in that season.
Okay.
That would be an additional
Yeah.
um, invitation rule that I would be cool with, and I think that
Yeah.
would be interesting to see in terms of giving additional reason why the Clash is special. It's like, oh, this is this guy's XYZ driver's
Hmm.
first big chance to compete against the best Cup guys
Yeah.
this season.
I don't hate that either. I think there's a lot of compounding things, not to get off track, that if they'd bring back more practice because it would emphasize people to qualify, to try and go
Mm-hmm.
for qualifying and all that, and then try and get their car better for the race, it would compound. And then if you had something like that, then you might have someone that, is really damn good, like Ryan Newman used to be at getting
Mm-hmm.
poles. And then, but obviously that was in the Cup Series, but, they could be down in the lower series. But,
It's more visible activity to the fans, which
hmm
means you have more opportunity to differentiate drivers, differentiate cars to help the racing better, and introduce those drivers to fans and increase on the track end of things, increase the likelihood of a fan wanting to spend the extra money for a weekend package. Like if I'm going down to the racetrack and I'm making a trip of it, and I know that there are, if I want to save some money, I'm not missing much. I'm probably
yeah,
just going to get that Sunday ticket.
hmm
However, if I know that Friday I got practice for at least two of the series, qualifying for at least one of the series, Saturday I've got a race or two, I've got more practice, more qualifying, and then Sunday you get the race, I'm a lot more likely to consider purchasing tickets to those Friday and Saturday sessions.
yeah,
And on TV, I know they said, I believe some of this was because of the lead in from First Take on
hmm
FS1, but the practices after the duels, which is weird. I don't think that the duels shouldn't be an impound race, but the practices after the duels and before the 500, they were getting close to 500,000 viewers, which is not far off of the truck race average viewership.
yeah,
I think TV would be very happy with more content, more sports content to put
oh, yeah,
on the airwaves, even more so than they would have been years ago. Because
hmm
really, even if it is just practice, one of the few things that can reliably get viewers here in 2026 is sports. Part
hmm
of why I've always said that it's not correct to be poo-pooing the ratings decline as just people cutting the cord. It's like, no, no, no. Even young people, the only thing that they'd be tuning in live for is sports. So if you're a
hmm
sport and you're having issues with viewership, that means you're doing more things wrong than just having your audience decide they don't want to pay for cable.
yeah. Um, Before we get into the package, I would like to say it was really cool to see that First Take was there. I
That was
like
really cool.
like I've watched them. I don't watch them religiously by any means, but I'll watch them here and there. And I was like, oh no shit, they're at the actual track, and I was like, that's pretty
Yeah, it
cool.
was a
So
really cool
yeah,
promotion. I thought they were
yeah,
all reasonably competent
yeah,
talking about
yeah,
NASCAR. Enjoyed the show, and it's just really cool as a backdrop. You got the studio host sitting on a physical set,
Hmm.
not a green screen, an actual table with lights and chairs and crap. And behind them, you see ARCA practice whizzing by in the background. It's just a cool visual of like a
Hmm.
whoa. I'd say the same thing if I'm watching like Pat McAfee show at like outside a football game or
Hmm.
like before a golf match or something like that. One of those talk shows. There is something, especially now that we're in the AI age, there is a large segment of the population that's interested in sort of authenticity in the content that they're watching.
Yeah.
And what better way to show that you guys care about being real than by sending your podcast down to an actual sporting event
Hmm.
and showing people that, yeah, here we are. We're outside in a set talking about sports.
And the fact you could hear the jets go over and the cars drive by.
Yes, that scene of the Jets practicing over and they all look over like, what was that?
But let's nail this elephant in the entire room. The package still completely blows. And yeah, the
Well,
whole idea that three wide racing gas saving is what we should be putting on the television is asinine stupid, and anyone that thinks that that brings in a fan is completely brain dead because even if you bring a fan in, once they learn about NASCAR, they're gonna be like, this is a fucking joke. They're just gas saving, driving. They can't even race. Like Ryan Blaney at the end of at the end of the race said when they were locked with the three Toyotas in front, he couldn't even go anywhere. Like even when they want to go somewhere, they can't go anywhere because it's just a parachute car. That's all it is. This car is all drag, no horsepower, no sleek, nothing. It can't do anything right unless it's in a pack, and then when it's in a pack, it can't do anything else besides follow the car. So what else are they supposed to do besides gas save, fuel save? That's all they can do. And for Chris Gabehart, or not Chris Gabehart, but
hey,
Chase
he's
Elliott,
under fire for something else.
yeah, he is. I was going to mention that at the end because I didn't put that on here. But
Recent developments.
Chase Elliott's crew chief, who said that it doesn't matter if we change this product, we're always going to have that fuel saving thing. Here you can't put it back in the box. That's completely wrong. And I'm going to say that, and I'm not even a crew chief. If you fix the racing where it doesn't matter if you're in the back of the front because you can have a good car and drive all the way back to the front, fuel savings means nothing. It's a small, minute thing. Yeah, could you have someone go and save a bunch of fuel and then jump everyone else and be at the front? But then someone that has an actual good car has to take a little more fuel, but then race their way back to the front? Yeah, you're gonna have that. It's always been there. That's been like that for 20, 30 years like that. But the difference is the good car could get back to the front and not be stuck in the back because three cars are fucking blocking the whole track. So that's completely wrong by Chase Elliott's crew chief by saying we can't do anything. The cat's out of the bag. That's incorrect. That's totally false. That's dumb. That's a horrible way to think. And it's not that difficult. There's way too much drag on these cars. You have a lower series with all the bells and whistles that you could ever want. I'm not saying go back to that car, but look at the drag to horsepower ratio and just imitate that on your stupid next gen car. It's not that difficult. You have a truck that races really well. Just look at the drag numbers and figure that out and imitate it with your fucking next gen car. You created this piece of shit. Fix it. If you want me to come do it, I'll come do it for you. Show me the numbers and I'll tell you where to put it and we'll try it out because clearly no one wants to take a chance. Everyone's just like, well, if you close your eyes and just hear the cars, it sounds good. And that's not even what he said,
It
but that's
doesn't.
literally what
No,
he's
it
fucking
doesn't. I
saying.
was there. It
He's
does
like,
not. You're there in the
like,
stands. I'll let you finish your rant. It's like you're there in the
oh,
stands. You hear it. I
yeah,
went there last year. I was at the 500 last year. I was at the duels and I was at the 500. And it was at least 20 decibels louder when they
yeah,
were actually pushing. You could tell. When they're riding around, it's like,
yeah,
oh, this doesn't hurt my ears. And then they
yeah,
push, and it's like, oh,
yeah. No,
you can
so
tell.
no, so
Ah,
my rant was basically over. But it's like, hello, what are we
this
doing here? Like,
I
Even
just
Dale Jr. has better ideas. He's like says take the whole spoiler off. I personally would love to see that happen and just test it out. Their whole excuse is, well, it looks good to your eyes if you just shut the sound off. It's like, what?
uh, uh,
No.
'cause it doesn't even look good. I have a couple of main comments and then I have details to them. El- Elton Sawyer's a moron.
Yeah.
Not necessarily because I don't think he believes what he says, but because relying on the audience being stupid enough to not know what's happening in order to enjoy your product is not a viable long-term audience retention strategy. This applies to both sports and to TV and film. Like if you have a very poorly written show, you need to rely on the audience not noticing it's poorly written, or
Hmm.
else they're going to stop watching the show. We've seen
Right.
this with shows that were well written, were well liked, and then became poorly written and then got terrible reviews, say
Hmm.
the end of Game of Thrones. It's the same, it's almost the same sort of thing here because sports are stories. And if you're telling the audience the only way that they can, oh, we rely on them enjoying our stories because they don't know our stories suck, you're not eventually those chickens are going to come home to roost and you're going to have to deal with the fact that your audience now realizes your stories are crap and they need work
Hmm.
and you're not in a position to fix it. Regarding Alan Gustafson, I think there are two issues at play here. I think one of the issues is a language issue. I don't know if it's deliberate or accidental of misinterpreting fans saying, quote, we don't want fuel saving,
Hmm.
unquote, as well, obviously, fuel saving will never go away
Hmm.
because we know that, in a race, at some point you're going to want to stretch it on fuel. You're going to need to conserve fuel. Fuel being a thing that exists means that fuel saving will always be a thing that exists. I don't think Alan Gustafson is wrong in that sense.
Yeah.
What I think is wrong is the portrayal of the fans' desire for not having fuel saving is being interpreted as, oh, they just want to see him run all out all the time. No, no, no. I just want to see good racing. At the moment, the racing is not good primarily because of the package issues in the car that manifest themselves as three wide, 30 mile an hour off the pace, fuel saving for 2/3 of the final stage of the biggest race of the year.
Hmm.
Fuel saving is not inherently a problem, but the fuel saving that we see at Daytona and Talladega in the next gen car is a symptom of the disease that is a car that cannot pass when the entire field is running all out.
Hmm.
I actually believe, if anything, this car, I think drag is the bigger issue, but I think this car might also have too much horsepower. And let me explain
Yeah.
why.
It does.
We have enough horsepower that in qualifying, right, the drag is so high that we are at the top end of the motor and we're still only hitting low 180s.
Hmm.
The thing is, though, we have so much horsepower that when you have two or three cars in a line, you have that much more horsepower pushing them through the air. We have a delta of solo car speed to max pack speed of close to 20 miles an hour.
Hmm.
That is too big.
Yep.
If we look back to prior packages, I want to mention the crazy 2019 to 2020 Gen 6 package, which had a 8 or 9 inch spoiler, a wicker, and 550 horsepower.
Hmm.
For comparison, right now we have 510, which
Hmm.
is the second most we've ever had since restrictor plates existed in the 80s.
Hmm.
But in that 2019 package, those cars, despite having a big blade, still had a lot less drag. And to get into why that is, but first, they had a big blade, but they still had less drag. The delta between a solo car running outside of the draft and the max speed of the pack, the
Hmm.
general pack, when they're pushing in 2019 and 2020 was closer to, if not below, that sort of 13 to 15 mile an hour range. And that's about the upper limit
Hmm.
because the runs that were generated and the top speeds that were generated with that package because of high horsepower and high drag, but not as high a drag as the next gen.
Hmm.
We were seeing cars hit 210 miles an hour. Then, of course, we had Newman's crazy, terrible wreck at the end of the race.
Yeah.
But what we've now discovered with the next gen is if you go even further than that and you increase that delta further, all of a sudden, super speedway racing as an idea kind of falls apart. The next gen has so much drag, and this is something you saw in the last lap. It
Hmm.
has so much drag that if you're pulling out on your own, you any momentum that you would have built by being in the draft of other cars is lost almost immediately.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Even in that 2019 to 2020 package with the highest horsepower, and even when they started cutting the horsepower after that for safety reasons, if you're a solo car alone, you could keep your momentum high enough to at least island hop one or two other cars
Hmm.
before, if you had no help, the rest of the line would build up momentum back around you.
Hmm.
And I think part of the reason the next gen has so much drag is not just because it has a large splitter, a large spoiler, I
Hmm.
misspoke. And I think that's partly why it's going to be hard to actually get drag out of this car. What this car has that even the Gen 6 didn't have is it has a very narrow roof, a very narrow greenhouse compared to how wide the wheel wells, like the hips of the car are.
Hmm.
That difference, I'm not an aerodynamicist, but having seen a lot of different race cars, seen how they behave,
Hmm.
my understanding of how it's racing is you're putting a lot more spoiler in the air. And those big wheel bulges we saw back in the 90s and 2000s days when teams were able to really smooth out those super speedway cars in the 2000s, it kind of just
Yeah.
looked like bubbles. You go, you see one of those old cars in person,
Hmm.
and you can look, and the only thing that is sticking out on the side of the car is the sidewall of the tire.
Hmm.
Everything else is a flat, smooth plane to
Yep.
reduce drag down the side.
Hmm.
The next gen is not like that,
No.
but it's even more exaggerated than the Gen 6 was. And that brings me into my other point of why the drag is so high in the next gen compared to the Gen 6 or compared to the O'Reilly or truck cars is teams, there is not much, if anything, teams can do to massage these bodies further. I think in the
Yeah.
post Gen 4 era, where
Hmm.
cars looked vastly different based on track type, particularly when you're comparing a super speedway
Yeah.
car to a intermediate or a short track car.
Hmm.
I think once we got beyond that, a lot of people thought that, oh, the arrow is still now basically the same from one track type to another. No, there was still a lot that teams could do to smooth out the creases, smooth out the
Hmm.
body lines, mess around in the rear wheel well areas, especially
Hmm.
on these plate tracks to reduce drag.
Yeah.
And that is something they can still do today in O'Reilly and in trucks. You see it more in trucks because their body regulations are looser
Hmm.
and their bodies are still made of steel. But even in Xfinity, you can look really closely. There's on their super speedway cars, there's a tiny little bulge on the fenders right near where the base of the windshield is.
Hmm.
You look at those fenders down the side, they sort of tuck in ever so slightly behind those rear wheels to reduce drag. And those wheels themselves, they are pushed out almost to the far limit of where the overhang of the fenders are. I had tweeted this out a while ago. I can't find it immediately, but if you look at a next gen down the side, there is an overhang of a good 2 or 3 inches, if not more, of body that
Hmm.
extends out beyond where the wheels extend.
Yeah.
And what that does is that's creating a big parachute back there that is slowing the car down. It's grabbing it from both sides in the rear and pulling it back. And I think even with a smaller spoiler, I don't know if I don't know if that would be enough to reduce the drag to the point where a single car can have
Well,
decent enough ability to maintain its momentum long enough to actually make moves in the pack.
yeah,
And honestly, I think the most ironic part of it all is the next gen races fantastically at New Lanta
they did.
because the top speeds are in the draft are not much higher, only in about the 8 to 10 mile an hour range than they are
Mhm.
in qualifying because the track is so tight.
Yeah.
You pretty much have to lift even if you're in the draft in order to make a corner. Even though the tires don't even wear crazy much at Atlanta, it's
Hmm.
just physics of trying to basically do the same type of racing in a 30% smaller area.
Yeah.
You can't get up to the high speeds that make passing difficult anymore. You can still generate big runs, but then it's easier to keep them because if you pull out to pass going into the corner, well, the leader up top might have to lift too.
Hmm.
So you have a better likelihood of sliding up in front of them. And I just don't want the answer to be, I don't want the answer to continue to be, well, we don't know what'll fix it, so we might as well assume nothing is going to fix it. I don't want to specifically call out someone like Alan Gustafson for his comments because I think it is a language thing of,
Hmm.
well, sort of avoiding the actual problem of, oh no, it's fuel save. You can't put a fuel saving cat back in a bag. That's
Yeah.
not entirely what we're actually asking for,
No.
which means he's not really correct.
Hmm.
I just, especially now that the teams have more money from these new revised charter agreements, do some more testing.
Yeah.
Don't, it is way more frustrating. The only thing more frustrating than not fixing a problem is continuing to come up with weird excuses of why you're not fixing the problem.
And then we
Don't
see the
tell me it's
same.
not a problem. Stop telling me there's nothing you can do to fix it. I can't believe you when you say there's nothing you can do to fix it when I haven't seen you doing anything to fix it. The only changes that we've seen to the super speedway package in this car are adding a couple of shark fins on the roof and the back glass to make these cars less incredibly likely to flip.
Yep.
And it would be really nice if I don't want to do what Denny Hamlin said of, oh, let's run a clash with an experimental practice package.
Yeah.
No, stop using races as tests. Use tests as tests.
True.
Test a package in a test in the off season. Maybe call it preseason thunder. And then if that package has some issues, you've got a month and a half to possibly address them
Yeah.
before you get to Daytona. Instead of showing up 8 days before the 500, running the clash and realize, oh, wait, this sucks. Then you're just kind of screwed. Like, just, you can't grow by cutting
No.
and take some steps to fix the problems. And the fans will, at the very least, appreciate that you're trying.
Hmm.
As long as you're not like, don't say like, oh, we're just going to bring two cars down in the draft. We're going to take 2 inches off the spoiler and that's it. No, no, no. If you actually show a good faith effort of trying to
Hmm.
fix the problem, you buy yourself a ton of goodwill with the fan base and with the
Yeah.
drivers and teams who I'm sure aren't thrilled that the racing is bad.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's something to be addressed. I don't know if my idea would fix it. My idea would be run the short track arrow, including minimal diffuser and the shorter spoiler, run the short track arrow with lower horsepower. I don't want
Hmm.
to hear any teams bitching about lower horsepower if they bitch so much about higher horsepower. Lower horsepower in like that 460 range, take 50
Yeah.
out, cut the drag with these rather simple components that you can adjust first, the
Hmm.
spoiler and the diffuser
Yeah.
and see what happens. Have that as your first test, see what happens. And then if that doesn't work, at least you tried something very different from the current car that you have on current package you're running
Yeah.
on track.
Yeah. No, I think they definitely need to go do some testing, but they won't. I would even take this. Hey, why don't you increase your practice time and then, before you go to Talladega next, when everyone's down there, you don't even have to televise it. Just put the package on all the cars and tell all the cars to go out and run for 2 hours before the actual real practice. And if it runs decent, let them do their practice in it or wait till the next one. But just
The
take some,
changeovers take long enough that it's
like,
like I can get them not wanting to try two packages in one race
I-
weekend,
I'm
but
telling
it's
them,
still
I'm
it's
telling them to
just
bring two cars, an extra car for this.
owners are gonna
Oh,
fucking
they
hate
are.
you. And
They're
that's
gonna
and
hate,
that is the
but
problem of like why although I'm very
yeah,
broadly very happy with the outcome of the trial,
yeah,
I was never and I don't think I ever will be 100% team owner
mhm.
because every now and then you find things like a lot of the cost saving measures where it's like, oh no, the owners are asking for that. And it's like,
Oh yeah,
look, you signed up for this. I sympathize that you're not getting as much help from
mhm.
NASCAR as you ought to be, but you did sign up for this, and you can't keep cheapening out
Oh
on
yeah.
us.
No, that's where. Oh, through my mic. That's
Oh
where.
no,
That's where. Um, NASCAR needs to put their foot down and be like, no, this is what we're doing.
they
You're a part.
need competent leadership for that,
You're
and
yeah, they
that's
do.
where the problem comes from.
They
Is that
don't.
they haven't had that, which is why NASCAR's effort to put their foot down either they put their foot down in really
Yeah,
stupid places,
they
or
do.
they can't put their foot down at all.
Correct.
That's why someone like a big Bill France Jr. was so
He was.
valuable
Hmm.
because he was a
Like it or not,
he
he was going to
had good
tell you
ideas.
what was going to happen.
He was
And
going to tell you what was
yeah,
going to happen, and most importantly, his ideas were usually right.
yeah.
And what he said was going to happen, what he wants to happen, tended to work if you
Hmm.
look at the popularity of NASCAR. But
Hmm.
um, well, let's go back to I guess the rest of the
Well,
Daytona weekend.
the speaking of incompetent leadership, going into the truck series, Tony Stewart was back. I don't know
Yeah,
if you
Tony.
I don't know if you saw that interview where they asked if he was gonna see
Oh, if you
Steve
ever talk to
O'Donnell.
Steve O'Donnell and he was like, "Oh no, if he bumps into me, we'll see what happens." Oh my God,
That was comical, and I miss Tony Stewart more in the
I miss
series
Tony too.
because those comments and just his snarky attitude has been missed completely.
He's a
Um,
character.
he is,
He's a character. He's a
he is.
personality. So
Um,
it's great to have him.
Ram was back.
Ram was
Uh,
back. I'm excited for that. I'm happy they're back, and I hope they do
yeah,
well.
the Jamie Little was still back. Um,
Yeah.
she needs to get the hell out of that booth because
She's such a great pit reporter and
she is.
such a horrendous play-by-play announcer. Like, look,
She is.
sometimes it just doesn't work.
Well,
Sometimes
like
they're very different roles.
yeah.
So I think it's foolish to expect someone who does good at one would do good at the other. If you're thinking through the
Mm,
history of NASCAR broadcasters, I think some of the few people I think did excellent on pit road and in the booth. It's a very short list. I'm thinking Mike Joy,
Bill Weber.
Alan Bestwick, and Dave Despain on the top three of that list.
Yeah.
Slightly below, I'd put Bill Weber, who
Yeah.
I think was at his best as a studio host. I think he was
Oh,
fine in the booth, but he was better as a studio host.
but he was a reporter to begin with. That's what I was
He was
saying.
a
Like,
reporter
yeah,
to
yeah,
begin with,
yeah.
but his best, Bill Weber was one of the best, if not the best ever,
Mm,
of the monologue to open
yes.
the
100%.
pre-race show and the
100%.
monologue to close the pre-race show and get ready
Hmm.
for the races.
Yes.
The countdown is over and about ready to go green. I'll throw it up to the booth with
Yeah.
Alan Wally and
Yeah.
Benny.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just the sheer fact of it is sometimes it just doesn't transfer over. I
No.
think Vince Welch was a good pit announcer. I know he did race announcing for a long time as play by play even before that, like in the 90s, he did some IRL races.
Hmm.
But I think he was much better on in the pits than he was in the booth because it's just something about having a particular cadence, having a particular energy, and being on the ball, reacting to events that are happening on track.
Yeah.
What I've noticed from Jamie Little most often that makes her commentary poorer than other play by
Dry.
play people is she does not react particularly quickly.
No.
She does not react with a ton of energy. She sort of sounds the same no matter what she's describing on track. And she gets herself sort of twisted up trying to give sort of lead-ins to a call
Yeah.
of, for example, like Alan Bestwick calling Dale Jr. across the line at Daytona in 2001 of it's going to be Dale Jr. using lessons learned from his father to go from sixth to first and score the victory at Daytona.
Mm-hmm.
That is a long sentence.
It is.
Jamie Little started the finish call coming to the line of that truck race with in the 27th annual at Daytona checkered flag. She just tripped over her words, lost herself, and you couldn't tell what was happening when the fourth place driver passed the front three cars in the
Yeah.
last 150 feet of the race. She just sounded like she was tripping over an ad read.
Yeah.
That's
It,
not, that's
no.
just not good enough for being the play by play announcer. I realize it's a hard job. There is a ton that go into it. But also, I realize I'm not the one getting paid for it.
No.
You're the one getting paid for it. And I say to the Fox producers, please use Jamie Little in the role where she is great at, which is being a pit reporter. She asks good questions. She is
Mm-hmm.
concise. She speaks clearly. She knows follow up questions of like
Mm-hmm.
after a driver gets out of the care center or whatnot, or if her crew chief tells her one thing, they're thinking about strategy. That's where she is well suited.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not working as a play by play announcer. I
Yeah.
am excited to see how Eric Brennan does because I adore his Cars Tour broadcast. I thought he did an excellent job on the ARCA race on Saturday, a
Yeah.
race which I enjoyed a lot more than I expected to enjoy,
Yeah.
even though it still had a lot of ARCA-ness to it. But it's ARCA. You'll always have ARCA
Oh yeah.
shenanigans.
Very true.
And otherwise I enjoyed the truck race too. Of course, I was very sad that Cleetus spun, but I
Yeah.
can't say I was particularly surprised, just bummed.
I will say, um, since Daytona's been aging,
Hmm.
that turn four is turning into a greasy, greasy spot again,
It's getting
and
a
and
greasy,
I
greasy
like that.
spot again. It's it's
So
tricky because there was a the whole weekend there was a lot of wind, and I think that
that did
contributed
help.
heavily to
Yeah.
the struggles in turn four. But the track is aging,
Yeah.
and that's another thing I would hope to see with lower drag packages in the
Hmm.
Cup Series is something that we did actually saw. You mentioned you didn't see most of the earlier, pardon, Gen 6 500s.
Yeah.
Something that we saw
I've
a
gone
lot
back and
in
watched them, but
particularly
I haven't seen
something
a
we
lot
saw
of
a
them.
lot particularly in 2016 was drivers spinning out on their own in that exact same spot on the track. Dale Jr. in
Hmm.
2016 spun in the exact same part of the track as Cleetus did.
Hmm.
And that's something I want to see more, but also something I was a little bit disappointed seeing so many people say like, "Oh wow, he spun, he can't drive," when multiple drivers wrecked in the same spot that race and have wrecked there before. It's
Yeah.
just
It was a
it's a bummer
yeah.
on multiple levels how this sort of deal is handled at the present.
Yeah. It before we jump into the Cleus thing, I did just want to say that Jamie Little and Fox dropped the complete ball by not saying at the very beginning of the race, the 2026 Truck Series. They said, I believe, when they were starting the thing, but they said Ram is back. They never said that, and I'm pretty
Huh.
confident to say that in 2001, Mike Joy said something about Ram being back and the season started and all that fun stuff, but could be completely wrong on that. But either way,
I
that was a complete drop of the ball by
I
Fox
don't
and
think
Jamie
I
Little.
got to I don't think I got to see
The
I think I
start,
missed the first lap of the truck race. I
yeah.
don't remember exactly why.
Well, they
Either
should
that or I
have.
was listening to it on mute. But what I
Yeah.
did know, what I do know they missed when Tony Stewart was taken out in the wreck,
Hmm.
it took them almost a minute to realize that it was Tony Stewart involved in the wreck. And that's, I know a lot of the Ram cars looked similar,
They did.
but
Yeah.
you got to realize what a lot of Rick Allen in his interview he did with Dale Jr. on the Dale Jr. download a few months ago, he talked about this. You got to be aware of the sort of big name drivers that the
Mhm.
audience is watching for. He got a lot of flack for not telling the audience that, oh, the green car in that wreck wasn't Danica. I
Yeah.
think this was the ARCA race at Daytona in, I want to say 2010, he was referring to. Something like that of, okay, one of the black Dodge Rams wrecked.
Mhm.
Was it Tony?
Yeah.
And a little bit slow on the ball there.
Mhm.
And obviously, what they say doesn't change whether the fact he was in the wreck or not, but just
Yeah.
informing the audience who are curious,
Yeah.
not making them wait longer than they probably should. Um, Something that just got to be on the ball.
Yeah.
Just got to be on the ball for that.
They that's definitely an issue too. Um, Cleetus now. So
Yep.
he has brought many, 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 many eyes since he's come into this sport, and it's all been for better, not worse by any means. And
Yes.
every person that has bitched and complained about how he's gotten up into the truck series is a brain dead moron. And what Freddie Kraft and what Tommy Baldwin were crying and whining about, and I understand what they were trying to come across, but they didn't come across very well how they were saying it, especially how, and I get Tommy's trying to defend his kid and blah 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 blah, and he's trying to, that's Tommy Baldwin. He's always hot headed. That's what he is.
Mm-hmm.
But people need to understand this, and I went and got the numbers because this is completely asinine, and it's not always about views, but unfortunately, we lost Greg Biffle, and Greg Biffle would have brought Cleetus into every series and elevated him 10 times fold. Kind of like in the
Yeah.
same fact, if Dale Earnhardt would have never died, Dale Jr. probably would have had 2 to 3 championships. Guaranteed. Because DEI wouldn't have fumbled and fell through.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Not to go on a tangent here, but Dale Jr.'s career was still a great career, but it shoulda, coulda, woulda been an amazing career. From his dad's death to Dale Earnhardt Incorporated going under to him having all these um, concussions when he was with Rick Hendrick, hindered his whole career, unfortunately. And
DEI stuff, especially after
yes,
Dale passed,
yeah,
that was the biggest
oh yeah,
in terms of how his career numbers would have been different.
oh yeah, that set it
Oh
in
boy.
motion. But I'm not saying Cletus has the same trajectory now, but he basically lost his equivalent, Dale Earnhardt to Dale Jr., like his mentor in a way.
he,
So
he lost his mentor.
yeah,
Greg took him under his wing
mhm,
as basically his sort of apprentice
yes,
or his protege.
yeah,
And that's a loss. I think it's a little too early to tell how badly that'll affect Cletus. I
mhm,
think though it's at the moment all we really know for sure it's that it's a tragedy. But
mhm,
the I think the biggest thing that confuses me about the Cletus deal is how many other drivers seem to respect him a lot
mhm.
and how many non-drivers hate him. And
Yeah,
I think
that's true.
it's like and there's an aspect to this where I get it
Yeah,
of especially regarding the issues that Luke Baldwin has been having with getting
mhm,
approved.
yeah,
I think the NASCAR approval process, based on admittedly what not much I know as a fan who hasn't gone through it, don't know people who have, don't know the
yeah,
exact details of it. I think there are some parts of it, like many of NASCAR's rules, that are convoluted and backwards
mhm,
regarding, namely, testing at Rockingham in order to prepare for a drafting
Daytona.
track at Daytona. I think that's stupid.
Yeah,
I think Cletus did pretty much fine in that test. Oh, he hit the wall at the end on 50
yeah,
lap tires at a
yeah, Right.
he
At
did
Rockingham.
okay.
Yeah.
But I think really the biggest issue that I didn't really appreciate Freddie Kraft, Tommy Baldwin not mentioning is one, the fact that where was this energy at any point in the last 10 years when any number of completely incompetent drivers have made it up into the sport and done
Yeah.
wrecked a lot of cars for no benefit
Hmm.
and not going after the bigger problem, which is so many of these NASCAR series have just essentially no practice anymore. What do you
Bingo.
think was going to happen? Even if yeah, even if oh, Cleetus had to go through longer testing practices, like oh, he should have
Hmm.
had to run a bunch of short tracks like we did. How
Yeah.
the fuck is that going to help him prepare for Daytona? It's not 1975 anymore. You
Yeah.
don't like I get what you're saying, like this sort of traditional of the only thing you have that can prepare you for the draft in a truck at Daytona is being in the draft in a truck at Daytona.
Hmm.
And the complaints they were having about the approval process don't do much to change that fact.
Hmm.
And when you're in a period in time in NASCAR where there is no off-season testing, nobody can test at Daytona until the one practice you get in the trucks the
Yep.
day before qualifying, where everybody just runs a couple qualifying laps because it's an impound race
Hmm.
and expects that not to be and not call that out as really the biggest nexus of the problem.
Yeah.
I don't think it should be as difficult as it is for drivers to get approved for NASCAR. But I think that the best way to combat that in terms of, oh, they're not ready, is to actually let these guys practice again.
Hmm.
And I really don't understand. Well, I theorize that a lot of the vitriol is, oh, he's an outsider and he's taking shortcuts, which I get,
Hmm.
but why aren't you this mad at, say, like a Travis Pastrana
Hmm.
when he first started running nationwide series out of the blue? He did one nationwide series back in 2013.
Yeah.
He just came in. He'd never driven a big stock car before.
Hmm.
Were you pissed at him? It just feels like a massive double standard. I'm glad they were also mad at Natalie Decker.
Yeah.
I that that was just pathetic in the truck race there.
Yeah.
I realized that it's like, oh well, Sam Mayer apologized in his interview. It's like, well, of course, because Sam Mayer, despite really not being at fault, Sam Mayer
Yeah.
took responsibility. She didn't,
Yeah.
and you have a you have a duty as a race car driver navigating a wreck to realize that you're navigating a wreck.
Hmm.
And if you're not watching these cars that are moving around, especially when it's one car moving, you're pretty much on your own and you're gassing it up. And then you have the audacity to start blaming your spotter. Just no, you
Yeah.
can't be doing this,
Yeah.
especially because, unlike someone like Cleetus, you've been doing this for years and
True.
you still make these below rookie mistakes.
Yeah.
That's just unacceptable.
Uh,
And I think that is a much bigger threat to the pack,
oh
to
yeah.
safety, than anything Cletus would be doing out there.
Yeah.
I agree that he was over his head, but I don't believe much of that was his fault.
Hmm.
And I don't think the solution to Cletus being over his head is to make it even harder for drivers to learn how to race in NASCAR at the big tracks.
Hmm. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head on the practice part, and that's the part that has pissed me off most about every person that has said anything about Cletus, quote unquote, possibly shouldn't be where he's at. Um, Dale Jr. even said a little bit about it, said he doesn't know if he should. He wasn't saying he shouldn't be up there, but he questioned it in a way. But it's practice. I get the approval process is probably fucked in a way and needs to be adjusted. Yeah, sure, but that's not fixing the outlying issue. The issue is practice. These people in the Truck Series and the O'Reilly Series, at minimum, need 2 practice sessions for 2 hours at each of these tracks. And
Give them at
anyone,
least two practices, at
yeah,
least an hour each. They need track
yeah.
time. There's
Well,
no
the
replacement for seat time.
the other thing with Cletus's thing is he only got, I believe, like 10 minutes of practice because,
Less than that. He got
yeah,
4 minutes of practice and he ran four
yeah,
laps.
because everyone was backed up because getting through approval through there, which is
Yeah,
completely,
inspection was a mess
yeah,
because NASCAR doesn't
like,
have as many inspection people
yeah,
now as they used to. That's another reason
yeah,
NASCAR condensed the weekends. They don't have to pay as many inspectors.
yeah. But it's like, what the hell is like the point of that? Like, it's just, it's mind-boggling. And the other fact of it is, he didn't wreck the whole field. I get he could have
He did a
wrecked
great
the whole field.
job locking
He,
it down
yeah,
and only taking himself out.
himself out. Like, I could totally see them getting more pissed off if he took out all those cars. He didn't, though. He did
Yeah.
not. And that Rockingham test, yeah, he hit the wall, but he could have ass ended it and then front ended it, but he didn't. He saved it after it hit there. So the guy knows how to drive. He needs more guidance. He needs more practice. And he can potentially be in the Truck Series and be a contender. I feel like maybe even in the Xfinity. I think it's a big stretch for him to go to the Cup Series, but it's not out of the realm for him to be competitive up there. But with no practice and just, hey, let's do COVID rules. No one's this has the implications of hindering the whole entire sport. There's a
It has
reason.
hindered the whole entire
Yes,
sport.
there's
It
a
has
reason.
for years.
Yeah,
It's hard to get started up
yeah,
now because you have no
because no practice, and there's
like
a
Noah
reason.
Gragson, Ty Gibbs,
Yeah,
these younger rookies who
yeah.
can't have been able to
There's a reason
Stone's
why Denny
practice.
Hamlin, Kyle Larson, Ryan Blaney, all these veteran guys don't care if there's more practice because they're
They already know what
already
they're doing.
know what they're doing. They
Michael
understand
McDowell
it
is
better.
like the biggest driver who's
Yeah,
anti-practice, and it's
yeah.
like I
'Cause-
know why you are
yeah,
because like look, I like McDowell, but it's
yeah.
like you just don't want practice
No,
because
because it
you
helps
know
them.
you're fine
Yeah,
because it
it,
helps the other
yeah,
drivers.
yeah. And the people that need the practice and the fact that NASCAR doesn't see this is it's mind-boggling. And the fact that everyone's excuse is, well, if they get more practice, someone's gonna figure it out and someone's gonna just blow the doors off of everyone. Who
What, like they haven't
cares?
figured it out?
Who cares?
Like that's look,
Like,
that's part of racing.
yeah,
If
like,
you are so concerned about safety, bring
yeah,
back sack practice for safety reasons.
yeah,
If you're concerned it'll make the racing worse, then maybe your problem isn't that
no.
there's too much practice. Your problem is you have a car that puts on bad racing. If
It's-
more practice makes the racing work, that's not practice's fault.
No. So that's what they need to do. Practice needs to be more practice, especially for these lower series. If you want to keep hindering the Cup Series, by all means, that's your prerogative. But these lower series need more practice. It will help them all out.
I would
And
be happy if
like,
really the hardest part on the lower series is like you see Bob Pockrass, he weekly tweets out the total purse for the weekend. Trucks are
mm,
racing for pennies,
mhm,
but that is okay, NASCAR, pay your
yeah,
teams more
yeah,
money for the races, but
yeah,
it's still, I'd even be fine if each series it was just a flat, like it is currently. Every series has the same amount of practice most weeks.
mhm,
If it was just instead of a flat, 25 minutes per group and
mhm,
then you go qualify. If it was a flat, everyone gets, let's say, 30 minutes before
mhm,
qualify, and then 90 minutes after qualifying.
mhm,
Every series gets 30 minutes before qualifying, whole cars,
mhm,
everyone out there, 30 minutes before qualifying,
yeah,
qualify, then practice, then race. Or if you wanted to do two practices before qualifying,
mhm,
just give every series a flat 2 hours,
yeah,
divvy it up as you like.
yeah,
2 hours for every car. If they don't want to run it, they don't have to run it.
yeah,
There you go. That's all
yeah,
you need. That's all
yeah,
you need. Except for, of course, give them more for the big races. 500, give them more.
mhm,
600, give them more. Give them more for the Brickyard. Give them more for the Sun at 7,500. But
yeah, and-
it's not a cheap fix, but it's a simple fix.
yeah,
And if you're basing your fixes off of what's the cheapest, that means your fixes might not actually
work.
be fixes. Should learn that by now, you
Yeah,
guys.
yeah, you would think. And my thoughts on the Natalie Decker thing is, uh, like, it is what it is. I don't think she ever was going to be a great race car driver. She's a back marker. She's always been a back marker. She always will be a back marker. That's not a sly to her by any means, but it's the truth. And if the truth hurts, I'm sorry. That's just the truth. She's in a back marker car too. So, but the fact that she hit Sam Mayer is just crazy shit.
It's
Like
just bad.
that
She's doing
that
it for
yeah,
whatever she's doing it for.
yeah, she's doing it
It's
for
just not,
yeah.
she's a
But
liability on the track.
the again, everyone can be mad at her, and that's fine. I'm not defending her, nor do I care. The outlying issue is the O'Reilly series and the Truck series. The pay is fucked. So
Yeah,
if the pay's fucked, you're gonna get whoever has money to bring to the truck team or O'Reilly team. That's who you're gonna get.
exactly.
Like until
Exactly.
you fix the system, this is gonna keep happening. So
Exactly. You
like
can't keep grow by you can't grow by
yeah,
cutting,
yeah. So
and
like
you got to
I
just reverse the vicious cycle.
yeah. So I get why people were mad at her, and it's like sure do it, but all you're doing is getting mad at someone that's a back marker that she's going to continue to do what she's going to do because NASCAR's not going to kick her out because she's bringing money to a team. So it's not going to happen. You need to fix the
Yeah.
problem. That's what people need to start getting mad at NASCAR, or not just NASCAR, but getting mad at the outlying issue and fixing the issue and not just putting a band aid on it. Because that's basically what NASCAR does all the time. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's what a lot
Well,
of fans
it's
get
it's
mad at.
hard to fix core issues. It's
It
much
is.
easier to just look at symptoms.
It is.
And you no, I agree with you. The bigger problem with s- something like the Decker situation, or again, even the Cleetus situation,
Yeah.
is the underlying issues of it's so cost there is such a cost penalty to want to
Mm,
do this
yeah.
that you are relying on people with money to burn in order for your organization to operate. That goes for Cletus as well as it does for Natalie. I think Natalie
Mm,
is, of course, held to a higher standard considering how many races she's
done.
run
Yeah.
and how badly she's done in
Yeah.
all of them.
Yeah.
But it's still the core issue on that front of she has sponsors, she brings money.
Yeah. That's
And until you get to a point where you can at least make some decisions
mhm.
that don't require you to be simply hiring the driver with the biggest checkbook, it's not a problem that will naturally solve itself
Mhm.
until the system and to an extent the culture around drivers getting seats changes. And that's not a quick
Yeah.
fix. That might not be a simple fix. I
But
think the
that
best hope for that fix would rely on NASCAR getting a sizable, sustained increase in popularity over the next 3 to 5 years. I
mhm.
think that would be the best and maybe the only way to really start treating this issue is if there's more money
Yeah.
organically coming into the sport.
And it's getting like you have the elements there. So Cletus is coming up. I was just gonna
Cletus
read
is a yeah, Cletus, unlike
this.
that, that's
Yeah.
a big positive. He has a large fan
So
base. It's a lot of people watching.
so I was gonna read these numbers off real quick. So overall, Cletus's main three: YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. He's not really on X for the most part. He is, but not really. He's got a little over 8.6 million followers. NASCAR on X, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube has 14.9 million. So
One
keep that.
guy has almost as many
So yeah,
as
but
yeah.
keep that number in mind because now we're about to get into some really terrible uh, viewage numbers by NASCAR. Just on YouTube itself, um, Cletus total views on one of his most recent videos was 2 million, and that was at the high point, not the average. And then NASCAR's most recent one was 51,000
Oof.
views. Now, here it is. The average viewing of Cletus's videos are 1.4 million average. NASCAR's average viewing video is 50 to 60,000 100,000, and NASCAR has 14 million across the board.
Yeah,
Overall, Cleetus has the ability to, and I'm not trying to say Cleetus is Dale Jr., but he has the ability to have the Dale Jr. effect. And we saw that in the truck race. Obviously, Tony Stewart was in that race, so that also helps the viewership. But I know for a fact that Cleetus brings in a bunch of eyes because one of my buddies is a huge Cleetus fan, and he doesn't really watch NASCAR. And ever since Cleetus has jumped in there, he started watching NASCAR, and
exactly.
that brings eyes to the table. And the other thing I wanted to drive home was Cleetus might be a YouTuber, and it drove me nuts when Freddie and mostly Tommy Baldwin, because Tommy Baldwin is basically illiterate to technology, even though he hypes about technology all the time in these cars because that's what NASCAR needs to go to. Drives me absolutely nuts. And I like Tommy Baldwin because he was Ward Burton's crew chief, but sometimes the guy just drives me up a fucking wall.
Yeah.
Like, it's not easy to build what Cletus did. You and I can't just go out there and do that. It takes a long time and a lot of dedication to build a following and a channel like he did. Arguably more difficult than some drivers get into NASCAR, what he has
It's
done.
something hard to do, and I think
And be
biggest X
relevant.
factor,
And
the
be
biggest
relevant.
X factor to all of this is Cletus McFarland and the Cletus McFarland viewer
Mm-hmm.
are almost exactly the type of young viewer NASCAR should want to pursue.
Mm-hmm.
The crossover has the potential to be huge.
Mm-hmm.
The crossover should be huge. I think the crossover is huge.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something to be said about not just the fact that Cletus has a bunch of followers, because you can throw out follower counts for,
Yeah, you
I
can.
think Tony Breidinger has over 2 million followers because she's an Instagram model.
But she doesn't bring the
The
views to the stands. Just
Cletus's fan base is cut from a very similar cloth as NASCAR fans have been for many years.
very true. Yes.
And the lineup of the Cletus brand, especially with the this year's sort of hell yeah promotion, which I think is a
Mm-hmm.
little bit cringe, but it's also still the best overarching
Mm-hmm.
promotion NASCAR's had since everything else is just a game, like
Yeah.
13 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much crossover to tap into that audience of young viewers who are
Mm-hmm.
watching for him. Now, obviously, as someone who is largely critical of the Danica era, there's ways to overstep that.
Yeah.
You don't want to be chasing other stars too hard.
No.
You want to be able to build them on your own, or else you're not going to have sustainability. But I think there is not I struggle to see good reasons why Cletus McFarland would end up being negative to the sport. Going back to so many other drivers enjoy him,
Mm-hmm.
respect him. Greg Biffle took him under his wing before he passed. And watching the truck qualifying for Daytona, seeing him chatting it up with the other guys, chatting it up with
Yeah.
Travis Pastrana, Carson Hocevar,
Mm-hmm.
these guys like him and respect him. And I think it would be a very dumb move to try and push him and push that crowd away. I
Very
don't
much.
love Cletus's content. I've been subscribed to him for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't watch. I only watch a few of his uploads, but
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I've never been to the Freedom Factory, but I actually have a cousin down in Florida who lives only about 10 minutes north of it. So
Oh,
I've
really?
driven past the facility down there,
Okay.
and I just think he's who you want.
Yeah.
He has the ability to be a fantastic brand ambassador for your sport, even if he never does more than a few truck races a year
Mm-hmm.
and maybe at one point gets a full ARCA season or something.
Yeah.
He is still a great brand ambassador for the sport. And NASCAR's tried to have, I don't want to throw too much shade on Mamba Smith, but NASCAR has the idea of wanting a chief hype officer.
Mm-hmm.
You know who a fucking excellent chief hype officer would be?
Yeah,
Apologies,
Cleetus.
don't want to throw too much shade at Mamba Smith. I do respect him, but
Yeah,
maybe give him a different title. But
yeah.
Cleetus McFarland can
Mhm.
sell your shit, okay?
Oh,
He
100%.
can sell it.
He,
And he it's an asset that tweak some things with the approval process, give him more practice, give
yeah.
everybody more
Oh, yeah,
practice.
everyone.
Don't make
Yeah.
that is another thing that I do agree with Freddie Kraft and Tommy Baldwin, assuming, especially Tommy's assertions with the issues he's had with Luke Baldwin.
Hmm.
Luke Baldwin, that's his son, right?
Yeah.
Luke.
Yep. Yep.
Don't give him any special because that's a real way that you can kind of undo the benefits of that. Don't go out giving him special treatment,
No.
but don't shoo him away.
No.
There's a lot of NASCAR's had a lot of missed opportunities, I believe.
Yeah.
And I think
It's an understatement.
Cleetus McFarland, even if he never does more than a few races a year in the truck series and in ARCA, I think that is a net positive for the sport. And I think there should be and needs to be collaboration on both ends. And that can be really good of tapping in a lot of people in the younger demographic that NASCAR has been trying to get. A younger demographic that's already open to the
Mhm.
idea of big, stupid American cars with giant motors.
Yep.
This is a good idea.
Yeah.
And as long as you can keep it safe, keep it reasonable, and avoid preferential treatment, avoid snafus on the racetrack,
Hmm.
this is a good idea. And I want to see it continue.
Yeah. Before we wrap up with Chris Gabehart, the
Wild.
I was gonna ask you, and maybe it's just me. I'm not like a fanboy of Cleetus, but I've grown quite fond of him. So I'm wearing a 1320 because I remember him from a long time ago, from when he very first came on. I'll try and find the video and put it up here. But when he was in that white Corvette and he's talking about
Yeah, the
bald
white
eagles,
Corvette. I
yeah,
remember that was
like
like
that.
10 years ago. That
Yeah,
was
that was a long
old.
time ago. And I remember him, and that was a 1320 video. And then he came on. I don't remember the whole
His
thing, but
Instagram account is still like
yeah,
Garrett 1320
yeah,
video,
yeah,
I
because that's where
think.
he started hanging out with them and all that. But that's where I remember seeing him, and I was like, oh, this guy's kind of cool, interesting. And so I started following him from there. And then when he started doing also YouTube, I kind of like, I don't know, wasn't my kind of cup of tea because he was a little over the top, and it's like it's funny for a few minutes, and then I
He
kind of
has
get,
a character, and I
yeah,
can only
yeah,
handle his
yeah,
character in small
and
doses, but I do enjoy it.
he does it so well, and that's
Yeah,
like
he does a great
he's
job.
very good at when it's Cletus and when it's Garrett. He's very good
Hmm.
because he's like he can kind of flip it on and off, and it's
He can
really
flip
cool.
it on and off, but he also doesn't feel like he's faking it.
No,
He doesn't
no,
feel like it's
no,
inauthentic. Cletus
mm-mm,
McFarland doesn't feel inauthentic.
no,
It's just sort of him, but like at like the soul level
yeah,
of like
yeah, no. And
it's a good
when
persona.
him and Biff started hanging out, then I started
Oh
watching his shit
man, there was
because
so much
I was
great
like,
vlogs
no
with
way,
them.
Biffle's hanging out with this guy.
Yep, that's when I
Like,
started watching him more too.
so then I was like,
I I I
yeah, I got to
I
watch these
found
two.
him mostly from the when he had the Skinner truck that he rebuilt and then got
Oh
pulled
yeah,
over in.
yep,
I
I
found
do
him from
remember
that,
that.
and then I watched him more when he bought the racetrack. He
Yeah,
brought Bradenton Speedway, turned it into the Freedom
yeah,
Factory, following those updates of him fixing that track. Then I didn't watch him for a few years, and then I started
yeah,
watching him again when he hung out with Biffle and started doing ARCA. And
yeah,
yeah, no, I like the 1320 merch. See, like
yeah.
that's that side of the sort of like car culture never really got into
No,
me that much. Like I'm not super big fan of like modified Corvettes and all that. I think
yeah,
they're cool. It's just not my favorite.
yeah.
But again, that's the type of person. If you can introduce
But
that
you
person
can
who's
bring,
already
yeah,
interested in these types of car performance
hmm
cars, crazy engines, that's what
but
you want NASCAR for. And that's another argument in favor of 900 horsepower because you know
hmm
what that fan who
wants big
has,
horsepower.
his twin turbo
Yeah,
Corvette that makes 950 horsepower at the wheel. You know what that fan doesn't like hearing? Oh, these cup cars only make 670 horsepower. 900 horsepower is a big enough number that it sells. I
no,
don't even think you necessarily need a flat 1,000.
no,
You can keep it at
no,
900,
you can.
950, but
Well, not to
That
go off
is
it.
that
Yeah,
is marketing. That is selling people like that big number.
yeah. Well, I have a Dodge Neon, and it's not done yet. But by the time it's done, it will be close to probably 650 wheel horsepower,
Holy
which it,
shit.
which is like a
In a
NASCAR.
neon?
Yeah,
In
Dodge
a
Neon.
front wheel drive neon. I had
So
one of my uncles had a SRT4 neon
yeah,
that he
that
did
that's what
some
it
work
is.
to it. I think it was making 300 at the
Yeah.
wheels.
So like, not to say that it would kick a stock car's ass by any means, but like if you're just looking at numbers spec, it's like that's a four-cylinder car. You have a V8. Let's up those numbers, okay?
And I
That's
realize it's like
disrespectful.
but can you hold that sustained power for hours on
Yeah.
end high in the rev range? It's like, no, I get it.
No, yeah.
But I also realize that you guys were able to do that with 900 horsepower 12 years ago, and
Agreed.
you can do it again.
Yeah.
So,
Agreed. Um,
yeah.
But yeah, going back to the Cleetus thing real quick, he sustained the following and has done that for over 10 years. Like,
Hmm.
there are YouTubers that come and go and disappear, and he has been able to stay so long. So, like, it just shows his personality and his devotion. And I think he can do the same thing in NASCAR because he's done it in many different types of cars and stuff. But what I was
Yep.
going to ask you was, and it might be me being biased to this, but I feel like since Cleetus has come into the sport in the last year-ish, I feel like he's opened the door and more drivers have been more open to being open in a way, if that makes sense. I feel like from the chase coming out and him being around, more drivers have opened their personality a little bit. I don't know if you saw Jesse Love's interview for qualifying yesterday when they
I
interviewed
don't think
him.
I did.
You'll have to go look it up. It's fucking pretty
Because it's
comical
funny.
because they asked him because they didn't qualify very well, him or um, his teammate,
Oh, wait, I might have seen this. Him and
and
Hill. Yeah, it's
and
like they focused on handling.
yeah, and they asked Jesse Love why they did it. He's like, well, we did it because we didn't want to stink up the show and be up front all the whole time like we did at Daytona. So we so and he just
Ah,
went on
that's good.
with that story. And the I can't remember who was interviewing him. I can't remember who it was, but kept asking. He was like, "Well, we just don't want to stink up the field for the fans. We're gonna start at the back, kind of make our way up to the front, so it's not as much of a stinky show." So like he
Oh
was
my God, that's
just
great.
being a kind of a um, not an arrogant ass, but he was just being funny with it, and like that's what we want, a little more character with our people. Like I get it's your profession and you're trying to be the best, but have fun with it. That's why I would like to go to the racetrack and race. Dale Jr. and all these other people talk about once they get done racing in the Cup Series, they go back down to the lower series because that's what they enjoyed. They enjoyed doing
Yeah.
that. Obviously, you're at the top tier, you know, series, the three series, but you got to have a little fun still,
People
and
like
and and
seeing
and show
the
it
athletes
because
having fun
yeah,
and
because
showing
yeah,
emotion, showing that they're
yeah,
having fun and they enjoy what they do.
and I feel like Cleese has brought a little bit of that. I feel like the Chase has brought that a little bit because
You've brought some of that. Mark Martin's
like
brought some of that
yes,
of you guys can't be too scared to be outspoken
hmm
anymore because it's just not worth it.
no,
You need to, you will gain a lot of approval from fans and really the media if you are more outspoken.
hmm
And if whether outspoken means you have more fun with it or not, just
yeah,
showing that you do
just
care,
telling your
that you
opinion.
do have opinions on this.
Yeah. hmm Oh, actually, I was gonna say this before we get into the Gavehart thing because this reminded me.
Oh,
Even though everyone's pissed off at Natalie Decker, and then fuck, what was her name? Um, isn't it Corey Haim's girlfriend? I'm pretty sure that
I'm
is.
not sure who you're talking about, if I'm
Oh
honest.
shoot, I can't remember her name. She's done an ARCA series, um, but she put out a big tweet and a bunch of
Is
stuff
it
about.
Taylor Reimer?
Yeah, I think that's who it is. Yeah. um, how she was kind of well, she was bashing Natalie Decker, but she didn't really like call her name out. But you
Oh,
could,
right. She also had that podcast she did with Matt Tiff when she talked about all that
oh
creepy stuff.
yeah,
I don't want to get into that. We've
yeah,
been going on long enough
that
as
was
it is, but
I know,
Natalie Decker's had a bad
but
week.
but but she fired back yesterday, I think Natalie Decker did, and I am totally down for a girl on girl kind of fight. Not like a traditional fight, but like I like the bickering. Like I like when drivers go back and forth and bicker, even if it's, you know,
Drama.
not, yeah,
Things are
drama. Thank you.
happening.
Yes. Like I
It's
like that.
drama.
That's
People
that's
like
good.
drama.
As long as it doesn't get nasty or anything like that, like it's good. Like throw some jabs. It's funny. It makes it
Rivalries are good.
it makes it more personal. And also that pissed me off how she went after Natalie was like to think that every person is that stupid to be like, oh, Natalie Decker's a shitty driver. Now all girl drivers are shitty. That's a fucking stupid way to think because I don't think like that. I'm like, Natalie
That's
Decker,
a stupid way to
yeah.
think. There
I'm
are
like,
people who do think like
there
that,
are,
and I
there
think
are,
there are too
there are.
many people are accused of thinking like that.
Yes. But like, I knew right away. I was like, I don't think of all the girl racers like that at all. Like, I'm just like,
Isabella Robusto's pretty good.
yeah. So, but Gabe Hart.
Yeah, Gabe Hart. Let's close with
So,
that
yeah,
weird, unexpected
yeah.
bomb.
When that came out of nowhere, and obviously that was before we put this on here, I was like, what? And now it makes
That's gonna get
yeah,
messy.
now it makes way
That's
more sense
going.
why he left.
It makes more
Because
sense, but I mean that's
I
gonna
was
be
like,
so messy,
why
man.
would he leave? And apparently it was he wanted more control in Joe Gibbs up there and upper
Yeah,
management, and Joe Gibbs basically I think told him to pound sand in a way, like no, it's not
yeah.
happening. And he got mad and that's why he left. And he obviously potentially, I'm not saying he did, but maybe took some chassis setups or how they,
He
align
he
align everything.
allegedly he allegedly did a very Looney
So
Tunes very file basically labeling secrets I will sell to a rival team. Yeah, that folder on his computer. I am really curious to see how this goes out, but it's going to be
oh, no,
so messy because I don't
no,
think Spire has much of a choice but to also get involved in this.
yeah,
One, they were probably offering to pay him a lot of money.
yeah,
I'm sure him having personal issues with the Joe Gibbs people probably played some part, but
mm,
if people say it's about the money, it's probably personal. If people say it's personal, it might be about the money.
yeah. It's probably a little both.
It's probably a little bit of both, but he was certainly making a lot of money at Joe
Yeah,
Gibbs, and Joe Gibbs must really be mad if they were immediately going to release just how much they pay their race director, or what was his official position? Because he was like basically car chief for like the
competition.
whole
Wasn't he competition?
competition
Yeah,
director.
yeah,
That's it. Yeah, yeah. Like crew chief for everybody.
yeah.
They oh wow, look at the time. They're playing the anthem at the truck race. Let's
No,
tie this up quickly.
I know.
I'm shocked to see that come out. And it explains a lot, but it's shocked in the sense of there's no way this is not messy, no way this does not get drawn out, and no way this is not a big thing because with the next gen car, because everybody is playing with about
A
90%
little.
of the same
Yeah,
Legos.
yeah.
If
True
you
that.
have one guy, more so than at any other time in the sport in the cup level, when most of the difference simply comes down to one guy knowing the best way to put the Legos together,
Yeah,
it's really easy to immediately take that somewhere else and have the results happen
immediately.
instantly. We
Yeah,
saw that a couple of years back. The rumor that I think has at this point essentially been confirmed that the reason Austin Dillon was so dominant at Richmond in 2024
yeah,
was because they got setup information from a Joe Gibbs crew member
yeah, yeah,
and they were able to instantly apply it and it instantly worked and he won that race now 2 years in a row,
yeah.
stuff like that. And that's why Joe Gibbs is going all out trying to sue this. I don't know how they can stop Spire from using information that they've been given if they were
Yeah.
given it, because it's not like you can just unlearn that. But
My
here we
guess.
have yet another unforeseen consequence of the next gen car as it comes to shifting of crew members and crew chiefs. Because in the past, obviously, there's not much you can stop a crew chief from bringing a notebook from one
Yeah.
team to the next.
Hmm.
But in an era where most teams built their own parts, or at least were one of many different suppliers that had built parts for them,
Hmm.
you if you had a Hendrick setup, you had a bunch of Hendrick notes and you tried to take it to Starcom,
Hmm.
There would have only been so much you can do because you wouldn't have the ability to manufacture the specialized parts that Hendrick makes, to get suppliers that Hendrick pays for the excellent parts, or even
Yeah.
like the paint that they would use on their cars. You have that big resource hurdle. But if 90% of the team, if the teams are working with 90% of the same stuff, all it takes is to figure out how to put all that stuff together. And you go to another team, there's no worry because they have all of that same stuff already.
Hmm.
Well, all the knowledge you bring, all the knowledge you need to be stealing, it's all just how it gets put together. And there's no, probably no, I suppose it's not impossible that there is, but there's certainly much less manufacturing costs that need to go into implementing your setup information.
Yeah.
And I think if this is getting this spicy, I think this might end up sort of setting a precedent for what ends up happening if you have um, sullied crew members who are dissatisfied with their work, their pay, or what have you, causing major issues. And seeing more lawsuits of this type, or seeing more teams try and really butter up their current employees to make sure they don't leave and they don't sell their information to a rival.
Yeah.
I'm I'm happy to sort of, happy might be the wrong word, but I'm content to watch how this plays out. I'm really curious to see how this plays out. I
Yeah.
can't say I saw it coming, although it does explain a lot.
It does.
And woof, we're just
Yeah.
uh, I
It'll
guess
be
we're
we
into
we
round two, NASCAR, NASCAR two, Electric Boogaloo. Let's go.
yeah, we'll see how that
Uh,
turns out. Well, do you have any predictions before this truck race starts? Who's gonna win?
predictions for the truck race. It actually, don't recall what the actual starting lineup is. I suppose I should probably take a glance over at the TV next
Just
to me and see
just
what
pick
that
just
says.
pick
But
Kyle Busch so he can go 3-1.
yeah, I'll just pick Kyle Busch. I don't see, the Spire trucks are fine. He's won in a truck at Atlanta, in New Atlanta before. And
Well, if he does it, it'll
I
be three in a
think
row.
yeah, I
So,
think Kyle Busch is going to win. I think later today, I think Austin Hill's going to win. And
oh, of
then on
course.
Sunday,
Pick the
I'm
easy.
really excited for Sunday because I don't know who's going to win. I think it could be just about anybody. I think
Okay.
Chase Elliott's probably a favorite, but
Yeah.
track race is really good. Comes down to the good plate racers. I think it's going to come down to a lot of the same guys we saw last year, like an Elliott,
Mm.
a Ryan Preece, Brad Keselowski, a Chris Buescher, probably Denny Hamlin, unless he gets taken out in a wreck early. I think you're going to really see the normal free next gen, great super speedway guys. You're going to see
Yeah.
them out front on Sunday, dicing it up. And I am really looking forward to that race. It has turned into my favorite, reliable favorite next gen race of the
Yeah.
year.
True. It's unfortunate it happened at Atlanta, but at least it's a
Every
good
now and then,
race.
two wrongs do make a right. It doesn't mean I'm perfectly happy about it, but damn it, this crappy super speedway package and this bastardization of a track, if you somehow managed to create 89.7% of the way to 2005 Daytona. So, you know
True.
what?
Yeah.
You task failed successfully, I guess.
Well,
Uh,
Alex, it was fun having you on.
oh,
We
happy
were
to be here. We
we were
said
we were
two
trying to
times in a
go.
row, we've said we'll take an hour, and it's been
Yeah.
almost two and a half.
I know.
So,
It
all right. I
it's
guess that's just how
impossible.
these things go.
So,
It's
um,
7 bullet points turned into 2.5 hours.
I know. Well, 8. We added gay part, so.
Ah, okay.
So.
Yeah, yeah, that's the whole hour and a half just talking about gay part.
All right, pal. Well, I appreciate you coming on. We'll do this again, of course. And
Oh, absolutely.
I guess you got anything else to say to the people? Otherwise, we're getting out of here.
Say to the people, well, I'm sure you all know how to find me, Alex the Admiral on
True.
X.
Yeah.
The I in Admiral is a one in case it gives you issues trying to find it. Otherwise, just look for the Jeff Gordon profile picture bitching about something and you'll find me.
That's right. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow Mustard Cat Sports wherever. See you all later. Have a great one.
Thank you for having me on, and I will thank you, audience, for listening to all this, and I'd love to do it again sometime soon.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.